Hello and what's up, RSC Pokemon Challenges fam? How are you guys doing? It is Teo. I am back with episode 3 of the Roxanne Minimum Battles series. You can see our results so far. We have managed to get 18 Pokemon through the first gym, and 38 Pokemon have failed. Roxanne was a hard wall against just about everything in episode number 2, but episode 3 is going to bring a lot more challengers that might have a mixed bag here. We're going to start off with the Ekans line, of course. We've got the Pikachu line. That means Pichu is also going to be in there as our first baby Pokemon. I don't know if we're even going to get to it if Raichu and Pikachu just get wrecked here, though. Sandshrew and Sandslash are in on the action. We've got the Nidoran female and Nidoran male lines, so we are going to get some royalty that might actually have a chance here, given their ground typing resists rock. Chinchou and Lanturn are going to be very interesting. It's going to depend on what their moveset is at the start of the game, if they can get through this or not. Togepi and Togetic could also be interesting if they manage to get to Metronome. Metronome strats could make Togepi the first baby that actually gets through, though I'm not super hopeful. Natu and Xatu are also coming in on the action. We've got the Lotad line and we've got the Seedot line. I'm going to conservatively guess, before I have started any of these runs, that I'm going to be able to get about 10 of these 25 challengers through. That is my guess. We're going to see if it actually works out, and it all depends on the movesets. I have mentioned before, I do not pregame these. I do not look at the movesets, except for one in this episode. I was testing a bunch of upgrades to the overlay, and I was using Arbok in the first fight against the Zigzagoon to test that things in battle were actually working. So I do actually know what Arbok starts with, and since I'm coming in with a little bit of knowledge, I will make that my first Pokemon for today. Then we'll step to the Nidos, since they have the poison typing as well, and it will be kind of interesting to see how Ekans matches up against, say, a Nidorino or a Nidorina here. So let's get into those poison types first. But before we get to all of that, we have to also mention that we have our first member pickup there from 404 Base 6, spelled with a double S, so I gotta give the respect. Probably a bass player. I'm a guitarist. We could jam, dude. But he has decided to save an HMFriend in Linoone, giving it only HM moves to see how far it can get in the game on minimum battles. And we have actually reached 5 members on the Patreon so far. So if you're one of the other 4 members who hasn't given me a pick yet, just send me a comment down below on this video, or you can pop over to Patreon and leave a comment on one of the posts over there. Anyway, with that, we're going to get into this action. Let's start off with Arbok and just see how it goes. So Arbok comes in as a kind of interesting Pokemon here. It is a pure poison type. It's a Pokemon that doesn't have any type weaknesses here as we go into this section, but it also has one of the things that I think is super advantageous in this part of the game, which is having access to the ability Intimidate. That will, of course, lower Roxanne's attacking power with her rock type moves and give us a better chance of actually being able to get through there. Still, we're going to have to see the moveset to know for sure if this is going to work out or not, but up to this point, we have seen Intimidate be a pretty good starting ability, at least at this point in the game. I think any poison type that does get through Roxanne will have a good chance against Brawly as well without needing to go take a bunch of other battles. But that all depends on actually getting through Roxanne. Let's see how this actually goes. So here we will pick up Arbok inside of the Torchic Ball. That will put us up against the Mudkip line, so there will be a resistance to poison later on. And Arbok comes into this with a moveset that I actually think could get it through. It knows Wrap, Leer, Poison Sting, and Bite. Bite obviously is our strongest move in this section and gives us the ability to flinch our opponents. But I also think Poison Sting is more useful here than you might give it credit for, because it will allow us to get poison status on something like that Nose Pass. And if we can combine poison with flinches, we might actually be able to get through there, even though we don't have a same type attack bonus with the Bite. We're gonna have to see how it goes though, and it starts with taking on May right here in Route 103. So in the May fight, the obvious thing, we intimidate the Mudkip at the start of this battle, and I am going to go for Bite here since Poison Sting is resisted and Wrap is just trash. We get a 2-hit KO with a crit, so we easily get through May and we're ready to move on in the game. Poison Sting should be enough for the Poochyenas in spite of the fact that it is a very weak move. It is same type, and like I said, we could just poison them and get the advantage, so we're just gonna have to see how this actually works out. Now, sure enough, we make it through the 2 Poochyenas without too much difficulty. difficulty. So now we can try to take on Hiker Devon. This is our chance to see just how good this bite is actually going to be. We can bite on this first Geodude, and we see that it didn't do a ton of damage there. It did about 9 damage, making this a 3-hit KO. But we can get flinches, and Defense Curl obviously means nothing against this strategy. So we get to level 8 right there on the first Geodude. We can now bite the second Geodude. This is going to be a 2-hitter. We actually get the 2-hit KO range, and now we're ready to make our way on to Roxanne. So I'm not sure that this is going to be super consistent by any means, but I do think we're going to be able to get it to go. And I think it's going to be on the basis of flinch plus poison strats, but we're going to really have to see. I think the Oran Berry is super required here for this Pokemon, but let's get into the gym and just see if it actually works out. So Roxanne, attempt number 1, she leads off with the Geodude. We send out our Arbok and we do intimidate it. We'll start biting right here. We see that that did 8 damage here. So this would be a 5-hit KO if the 8 damage range stands up throughout the rest of the fight. We get Rocked Tomb, taking about 8 damage ourselves, but that is going to force her still to use a potion here on the first Geodude, which helps us out. We use our Oran Berry right here. The Geodude misses a rock throw, and now it goes for Defense Curl, so we actually get through that. We get to level 9. Second Geodude time. We're faster at the beginning because of the fact that we leveled up. Now it's going Defense Curl, and it's just going to be a question of whether or not we can manage to get a victory here. We would probably need more flinches than that in order to get this to go. Still, let's try this one again, and we might even want to try getting some chip damage with poison. This time we poison the first Geodude, and now we can go into bite. And if we start flinching, we could actually get this Pokemon to possibly go down from all of the poison damage. Unfortunately, we did take a couple Rock Tombs, but we have gotten her to use both her potions right here on the first Geodude. Now we can simply knock that one out as it just Defense Curled a bunch of times, getting us to level 9. Next Geodude, I'm going to actually go for the Poison Sting, hoping for the poison. It's not a guaranteed thing by any means, but if we can get the poison turn 1, it gives us a possible strategy for getting through. Though honestly, it may be better to just go for the flinches and try to get through the Geodudes that way. I'm honestly not sure, which is why I'm basically just going to test everything out. This time we get through the first Geodude without using the Oran Berry, and we haven't taken any Rock Tombs, so we're still faster than everything. So she's just going to go Rock Tomb after this. We get a nice critical hit there, and we force her to use her second potion as we crit again. That's going to get us to the Nose Pass. And now on this Pokemon, yet again, I think we can start with Bite because we're currently faster. But if we get slower due to the Rock Tomb, then I think we try to poison it. She actually goes Hardened here at the beginning, though. We get a flinch. Now she goes Block, so she is giving us an awful lot of turns here. We force her to use her own Oran Berry. Now she Rock Tombs, lowering our speed, and we will be slightly slower. So this is where I'm going to go for Poison Sting, trying to get poison on the Nose Pass. Simply because if it does get poisoned, I think it gives us a decent chance of getting through here. We finally get the poison right here, and with her poisoned, I can now go into the remaining bites that I have. She Rock Tombs there, though, and knocks me out because I was on too low HP, but really one more hit I think would have gotten the victory. Still, that was an awful lot of flinch luck, so we're gonna have to see if we can repeat that. We do get a crit in the next attempt against the first Geodude, which does allow us to at least get through one of them on full health. We really do want to force her to use the potions on the Geodudes if at all possible, which she does here. Unfortunately, we're just taking too much damage, and we get knocked out from the Rock Throw after she uses Rock Tomb a bunch of times on us. So it's not consistent by any means, but I do think it's possible. We're just going to have to keep resetting. So this time we get to the Nose Pass. It's been 18 attempts now, but we are actually already slower than this Pokemon while still having the Oran Berry. It goes Block turn 1, and I'm going Poison Sting to try to poison it as it just goes Harden a bunch of times here. We finally get the poison. Now I think we can even go Wrap for some chip damage on top of that and go into Bite, just hoping that we deal enough damage. She finally uses her Oran Berry right there. She still had a potion for the Nose Pass because I got some crits earlier on, and that's possibly the issue. We're going to need a really good range here, and we just don't get it. It's close, but we're just not quite getting the victory. And finally, we do get a run where we get a critical hit and we get the victory. It took 14 minutes minutes for me to get through that, and that includes me doing a bunch of overlay stuff on the side. So really not great, but we did manage to win with our Arbok. And with that being done, we can officially say that we've at least matched the last episode by getting a Pokemon through this fight. It turns out that Arbok has just enough. It makes me think Ekans doesn't stand a chance here. But for now, let's get to some more poison types. Let's check in on the Nidoqueen, who's going to be coming in with the resistance to rock with that ground type. And it might turn out to be enough here. So here with Nidoqueen, of course, it's also going to be in the Torchic Ball because I think it's going to be best to go up against the Mudkip line. It provides the weakness to water plus the most resistances, plus we're also technically weak to ground. So I think this is the way to go, but let's see what Nidoqueen's starting moveset is. We have Double Kick. That could be huge here because it's going to be a super good move against the Poochyenas, and it's going to be super effective against rock types. Granted, it is not greatest since it is physical and it's not a same type move, but it still might be enough to get through this section. Let's start by testing it out here against May and see how much she likes getting kicked by a Nidoqueen. Instead, I used Scratch by mistake turn 1, but that's perfectly fine. We'll go into the Double Kick after that, and it's going to take just a couple more turns to knock that Pokemon out. We get to level 6. We're in the medium slow level up group, so we're going to get to a nice level in this one. We will go into that fight against Roxanne a couple levels higher than we just were with that Arbok. And at this point in the game, honestly, every level counts massively because you got to think, if your stats are going up by 2 or 3 points each level compared to these early game stat totals, that is massive. That is a huge, like sometimes 10 or 15% increase in a stat from simply getting one level. So we have to just hope that all the levels that we get are going to make Double Kick more than enough for this section. For now though, against Poochyenas, it's super effective. It's going to be perfectly fine to just Double Kick them even without stab. I think we're getting through to at least Roxanne with no issues, but let's just see. Now, of course, if we can get through to Daddy later on with this one, we will be happy to have Double Kick for Norman, since it will be a super effective move, though who knows, we might have something better at that point even. We'll just have to see how the moveset shakes out as we go through this one. And sure enough, Double Kick destroys Hiker Devon, so we are ready to go to the gym on minimum battles and at level 10. I still think I'll throw on the Oranberry. I think it's going to be the best way to go, though at some point we may have a Pokemon that needs to go quick claw strats here in order to get through, because there could be a case where you just need that one extra hit and you don't really need the healing. So I think the healing generally is going to be more powerful here in this first gym. So let's just go ahead and give that Oranberry and see if we can find a way through Roxanne on the first attempt. And it turns out I came in without even healing, but let's Double Kick on the first Geodude just to see the range. We can see it's going to take 3 turns here, but we do have the Poison Point ability, which means when it tackled us, it got poisoned. So we are getting the chip damage, and that's going to allow us to take down the Geodude pretty quick. We get to level 11. The second Geodude comes out. We do currently outspeed, and this looks like it's just going to be a 2-hit KO here. And that is enough to get us through to the Nose Pass on our first attempt. Here we are at level 12. I'm just going to stick with the Double Kick here. Even though we're slower, I want to do as much damage as I can before it gets all its defenses set up. It goes Tackle against me, and if it just manages to get poisoned from the Poison Point, I think we're going to have a decent chance here. She did go for her Oranberry right there, and she's setting up all the defense, but we've got it down on red health. She had to use her potion, and even with all this defense, it still looks like we're doing decent enough damage that I think we're getting through on this first attempt. Even coming in unhealed, we get the poison as well from Poison Point, and that basically means that we've got the victory. So in the end, it turns out that Nidoqueen wasn't that bad to get through this section. It did really, really well. That makes me think Nidoking's gonna crush. As long as it's got the Double Kick too, which I don't see why it wouldn't. It should be super top tier here, but let's just see if that's actually the case. Now, of course, Nidoking is a little bit more oriented towards attack than defense here. So I think it's just going to hit harder, and it's coming in with Focus Energy, Peck, Poison Sting, and Double Kick. So it's got an even more diverse moveset, and the Focus Energy could be useful here. So I'm just going to Double Kick here against the Zigzagoon, getting an easy victory. Now we're just going to, I think, crush everything here. We'll see how we do against our rival. Maybe we can get the one-hit KO there. I'm not even sure, but I think we're going to be just fine. It's also worth noting that once again, we do have the Poison Point ability, so we will have a way to also poison our opponents, and we get the opposing Mudkip down in just 2 turns with a double kick thanks to a crit, and we get to level 6 right here. We're ready to go. Poochyena doesn't stand a chance against us, I don't think, and I think we're going to take care of Hiker Devon, so I think it's on straight to Roxanne in this one. Now, as I'm going through this, I am making it a priority to only pick up extra berries and items when I have a Pokemon that I think has a reasonable chance of getting through, because otherwise it just takes too much time to go through and pick everything up. This is a Pokemon that I think has a pretty good shot here, so I will get things like extra potions, etc. as I go through this section. And as expected, we make it to Roxanne with no issues with Nidoking, so now it's time to just get into this and see how it goes. Here against her first Geodude, I'm actually going to set up Focus Energy in this one so that we have the higher critical hit chance. We get a speed drop from the Rock Tomb. I don't think it's a big deal. We're still faster. It's just going to take a couple turns to get through this Pokemon, but I think we want that extra crit chance because that could really help us in the end. We get to level 11 right here on the first Geodude. We get a nice crit on the second Geodude, so we take it down nice and easy. And that brings us to the Nose Pass. We are a little bit slower here, but I think that's perfectly fine. It goes Tackle. We just use our Oranberry right there. We can see that we get the poison after it tackles again, and Double Kick is doing massive amounts of damage here. She has to Potion. We just continue Double Kicking her, and with the poison plus the Double Kicks, I just see no way that she gets through this. And sure enough, we take her down nice and easy. On the first attempt, we get to level 13. Nidoking moves on in the challenge. It wasn't really even a challenge there. I think this Pokemon's going to be good against Brawly too, because again, his fighting type is going to be resisted by us, and we just deal a lot of damage. Add on the Focus Energy, we may be able to just get through that one pretty easily, but we'll have to see. For now though, all of these fully evolved poison types have managed to get through. Let's step down to their less evolved forms. I'm going to start with Ekans. I think that Pokemon's probably eliminated right here, but then we're going to have to see Nidorino and Nidorina and see exactly what level they get Double Kick at. If it's like the earlier gens, I think it's level 12, which would not help us because we wouldn't get there until we're up against Roxanne herself and we get through the Geodudes. But if they get it at a lower level somehow, we might actually have a chance here. We're just going to have to see. Well, let's get that Ekans out of the way first. Now, of course, with Ekans, I think our problem is going to be twofold. Number one, we're coming in with lower stats. Number two, I don't think we're going to start with Bite, and I'm not sure we're going to get Bite in time to actually take on Roxanne. So we're going to have to see if anything can actually work here. But given how close it was with the Arbok as well, it's not like we got through on the first attempt. I took nearly 20 attempts with that Pokemon. That makes me think that Ekans is probably going to fail here, barring some sort of god tier luck. We'll still give it a decent chance at getting through, but we have to see if we can even get there reliably since Devon might be a wall here. So we'll get Ekans in the Torchic Ball. Let's just see what its moveset is at this point. It's coming in, of course, with Wrap and Leer. One of the worst movesets that you can get as a starting Pokemon. So we're going to really have to see how this goes. After a couple Leers, we're at least dealing enough damage to get through the Zigzagoon, but this might not even be great against May. We're just going to have to see. Now, we do have Intimidate, which lowers our opponent's attack stat, so that could give us a little bit of an advantage. But as far as level up moves, we can see we don't get Poison Sting until level 8, and we don't get Bite until level 13, and we're in the medium fast level up group. We're not getting anywhere close to level 13 here on minimum battles. So I think this one's probably going to be dead on arrival, but let's just see how far we can actually get. So here I am going to leer at the Mudkip once at least. It growls, so I'm going to leer again and then go into the wrap. We even miss the wrap and we miss again. So we're going to be in really bad shape in this one. It looks like we have to go pretty hard on the defense drops and we just keep missing. So with that, we're basically not going to be able to get through this first fight. It seems we lose even to May here. Even with 2 defense drops against this Mudkip, we're just doing so little damage with the wrap that anything short of a crit seems like we wouldn't get through, but we actually did manage it on the second attempt. So it was barely enough to win, but we did get it. So I guess that's fine. But now we're going to have to try to take on these Poochyenas, and this might be hard too, because we're going to be dealing with the sand attack from that second Poochyena on the Team Aqua Grunt. That again could prove to be a wall for this Pokemon. Still, let's see if we can at least get through to Devon here, since I want to give every Pokemon the best shot that it can possibly get, at least to get as far as possible in the game. And here we even lose to the Team Aqua Grunt with this one because we're just not dealing enough damage, and I didn't save there apparently. I thought I had, but apparently not. So we have to refight youngster Calvin, and this is already just looking like a nightmare with this Pokemon. But still, I'm going to give an Oranberry this time just to have a way to heal in battle, to give myself a better chance of getting through this first Team Aqua Grunt, because he's actually a little bit of trouble for us here, being 3 levels higher than us, and the fact that we have only Wrap as a damage dealing move. When he gets accuracy drops on us, it makes it even worse because then Wrap starts missing, and if we can't hit this move, we just don't have a chance to get through this fight. Wrap is obviously already not a super accurate move, so this situation just puts us in really bad shape, and he can just howl to raise his attack stat over and over again until he's doing massive damage to us, so we lose a second time. And I think this tells us basically all we need to know about Ekans. It's a Pokemon that really struggles because of its starting moves. Wrap and Leer, they just really aren't that great. Anything that starts with Wrap, I think, is basically going to fail in this challenge. Still, we're getting better luck this time, so we do actually manage to get through the Team Aqua Grunt at least. We might have to try Struggle with this one just to see if it will get us through Hiker Devon, and then maybe, just maybe, with Struggle and some good poison luck, we could find a way through against Roxanne, but I'm not hopeful. I don't think it's actually going to work out. Still, we'll just have to see. So let's get into that Hiker Devon fight. So first things first, against Hiker Devon, we can come in and just go for Leer against his Geodude. It goes Mud Sport, which is perfectly fine. We'll start Wrapping, and we see that Wrap does nothing here. Still, if we can manage to hit it enough times with the chip damage, who knows? We might be able to get through this. I'm not terribly confident, but he is defense curling a lot, so that is at least giving us some chance to deal some chip damage here. So we're just hoping he stays wrapped and just keeps on doing something like defense curl to give us a chance here. Now, I didn't put on the Oranberry in this one, but I really don't think it's going to make a difference. We get knocked out right there. There's still a whole Geodude behind this, so I just see no way that Ekans gets through, at least not like this. Still, I'm going to test a couple things. I'm going to come into this fight with some manipulated PP, because clearly with potions, we could use up all our PP against wild Pokemon, since we wouldn't be dealing much damage anyway. But this time instead, let's come in with 2 Leers and 1 Wrap. The Leers are to lower his defense, and the Wrap is to start getting chip damage, at least while we go into Struggle. So here he does Defense Curl, but we see Struggle does significantly more damage since it's 50 base power and neutral. So while he is getting a bunch of Defense Curls set up, we're definitely dealing more damage this time against the Geodude. We are getting on lower health. We probably do need an Oranberry at this point if we're going to get it to go, but we do at least knock out the first Geodude and get to level 8 and learn Poison Sting here, so there would be no way to not have PP when you get to the second Geodude. You would always level up here and get Poison Sting and then be stuck with this move. Still, we can get Poison on this Geodude. That's giving us some chip damage here. Granted, if it just tackles one more time, we will lose. Now, I didn't come in fully healed, and I did not have on an Oranberry, so I think this is worth at least just giving one more attempt to see how it will go with this setup if we're fully healed and have the healing in battle. We actually managed to get through on green health to the second Geodude as we learn Poison Sting, and we still have the Oranberry on, so we can go Poison Sting here, obviously hoping to poison this Pokemon and hoping that we can just outlast it with the poison chipping it down. It's certainly not going to be a fast fight by any means, but it does look like it's going to ultimately be possible because we've still got that Oranberry on and he's just stuck using Defense Curl a bunch of times. So who knows, that might give us some semblance of a chance against Roxanne. I'm not super confident, so I'm just going to go in like this. I'm going to try going into Roxanne one time fully healed, where I'm going to go for the poison turn 1 and then the wrap strats and just hope that maybe one Rock Tomb makes me slow enough that I'm outsped by the Geodudes, and then they just go for a bunch of defense curls. Then we'll just hope that we can manage to get enough chip damage to get through. I'm not super confident, but let's just see how this actually works out. So Roxanne attempt number 1, I'm going to lead off with the Poison Sting here, hoping to poison the Geodude. It Rock Tombs against me. Now I am slower. It goes Rock Throw after that though and simply knocks me out. So we're just a 2-hit KO here after the Rock Tomb. And that's generally what she's going to go for turn 1 because she wants to lower our speed. Still, she goes Defense Curl this time. We get the poison. We can go Wrap, which is going to give us some chip damage if we can actually manage to land it. I don't think there's any point going for Leer here. After that, it's just 1 damage per hit no matter what we do. She uses a potion here, and if she just goes for enough defense curls, we might be able to at least force her to use her 2 potions on this Pokemon. We do have the Oranberry on. I think when she goes Rock Throw though, we're basically getting wrecked on the basis that we just don't have enough HP. And so while we do manage to get through the first Geodude, we only have 3 HP remaining as we go to the second Geodude. We go for Poison Sting, of course, but it just goes for Tackle and knocks me out. So let's instead come into this fight with manipulated PP just to see if that does anything for us. So here is the strategy. I'm going to come in with 1 PP in Poison Sting and 1 PP in Wrap. I don't think there's any point going for Leer. We want her to go Defense Curl here. But basically, we're going to go for the Poison Sting first to try to poison her. And we're going to reset on any run where we don't get poison turn 1. Then we're going to go for Wrap to get chip damage. And then we're going to try to struggle the first Geodude down. Let's see if we can get through or at least even do better with this setup. So this time we do get the poison turn 1 on the Geodude. It goes Rock Throw on me instead of Rock Tomb, which is kind of bad because that basically means that we'll still be faster. So it goes Rock Tomb the next turn. We really want it to go for the Defense Curl here. And we can see after a few Defense Curls, we're really not dealing that much damage with our struggle. So we're going to need better luck than that, especially for her not to go Rock Throw turn 1. Next attempt, she goes Rock Tomb turn 1. We did get the poison again. Now she goes Defense Curl. And so while this probably isn't going to be great, we're at least getting a better shot here. We can still see we're not dealing a ton of damage with the struggle though. Even though we've got all this chip damage going with it, she's just going to get to the point of using a potion. We've already used our Oranberry here. Once she starts actually attacking us, we are going to take good damage. We would need some critical hits here in order to get through, and that's just too much luck to ever get through this fight reasonably. So just like that, I think we have to declare that this Ekans is out of there. It's not even getting through the first Geodude on the Roxanne team. I think we kind of expected that, but it's good to validate that struggle does get you to Roxanne. It's just not going to get through her at this point. Still, if we ever come back for future runs, we can get things like a Giga Drain via TM. Obviously, Earthquake and Dig are potential strategies that would get through Roxanne. I think all of those would at least give this Pokemon a chance here to get through the first gym, but for now, with its standard moveset, it's not happening. Ekans is out of there. Let's go check in on Nidorina and see if she can do anything better here. So Nidorina comes in being slightly more defensive here. We're going to have to see the starting moveset and at what level she gets access to Double Kick though. If she has Double Kick right away, I think we have a good chance. If she doesn't have double kick, I think we're going to be in trouble. So here, of course, we will get our Nidorina, and she comes in knowing Growl and Scratch. So definitely not great. We're going to get through the Zigzagoon, obviously, nice and easy. But what level will we actually learn some new moves? The double kick comes in at level 12, and we get Tail Whip at level 8. So we would have to get to the Nose Pass in order to get access to double kick. I'm not sure that's going to happen, though we might be able to struggle here. We obviously have decent enough stats. We can lower attack. We can lower defense with the Tail Whip. I'm just not sure it's going to be enough, though. Still, we'll try our hand at May. Let's just see how she goes here. Let's put Scratch in the first slot so that we can just go all in on the attack. We can see we're not actually doing that much, but we do have the Poison Point ability, which yet again allows us to just get our opponents to poison themselves without even needing a poison type move. That gives us a little bit of an advantage here because we could get the situation where, for example, Roxanne's Geodudes hit us with a move that allows them to be poisoned. And certainly Nose Pass, if it's faster than us and it doesn't have us in a KO range, will want to use Tackle against us, and that will give the chance for it to get poisoned as well. So that could be a strategy. For now, I'm going to get through these Poochyinas and let's make our way off to Devon. So sure enough, we do make it to Devon. I'm going to give an Oranberry here because I want to see how we actually do in this fight. We do have Tail Whip and Growl now to go together with Scratch. I'm just not sure if it's enough to actually get through these Geodudes. Let's see. Scratch without any setup did 1 damage. So it's pretty clear that we're going to be in bad shape. I think we have to go for a couple of Growls at least here. The Geodude is going for all of the defense curls. We get the poison with the Poison Point ability though, so that is going to cause it to take some chip damage. Effectively, our Scratch is also chip damage here, so we're just hoping that we can win the damage race. It looks like we will, as he just goes for defense curl a bunch of times, allowing us to get through. We get to level 9 right there. We can hopefully get through the second Geodude and also gain a level. I'm going to go for the Growls. It also gets poisoned after going for a Tackle against me, and now we can go back into Scratch here. We've got the Oranberry on still, so we can even heal 1 time in this fight. And with the chip damage, he can just defense curl all he wants. Nidorina's going to manage to get through this fight just based on the Poison Point, giving it that extra advantage there. So with that, we have made it to Roxanne at as high a level as we possibly can, level 10. And that could mean that we actually have a chance here. We're obviously going to be slower than the Geodudes after a couple of Rock Tombs. So it's not going to be great. We're going to likely get Rock Tombed twice before we get anything else. We'll just have to see if we can survive long enough that maybe Poison Point comes in, maybe we can chip them down. If we get to double kick just at the Nose Pass, we might actually have a shot here. So here, I think our best chance is to go for Growl against the Geodude. Of course, it does Rock Tomb me right there, but I'm just going to go Growl a couple times even, just trying to lower its damage output as much as possible. Here, Rock Throw is obviously going to do pretty significant damage to me. It starts going for the defense curls. We occasionally do get a Rock Throw here, and the fact that we've already had to heal really does make me think that this is likely not possible, especially because I think we can only get the poison if they go Tackle against us. They have to make contact for us to have a chance. Still, maybe we can go really hard on the Growls, and maybe that will affect her move choice somehow. For now though, it looks like she's just choosing Rock Throw every single time, and she has a lot of PP in that move still, so she would have to miss an awful lot of times for us to have a chance here. This time we do get Tackle though, and that does cause her to get poisoned by the Poison Point. Still, it's just not going to be enough when we're all the way down at 4 HP already. I just don't see any way that we're going to survive enough hits. Rock Throw is still doing at least 3 damage there. Still, maybe we can get a run where she goes for Tackle earlier in the fight. It's really the only thing that we can hope for as we go into this one. But sure enough, it just seems like she's got too much PP in the Rock Throw. So I just don't see any way that we get through with this Nidorina. Let's see if Nidorino shows us anything different. But for now, Nidorina, Nidoran female, I think they're out of there. I just don't think they have a chance to get through this. Now, Nidorino is more offensively minded and it might have Horn Attack in this section of the game, giving it a fairly strong normal type move. It's still probably not enough, but it is at least worth testing out. Nidorino did actually manage to beat Brock on Minimum Battles in Gen 1 in the original Brock Minimum Battles series that kind of started this whole format on YouTube. Not that it's like a huge format by any means, but I'm just saying, I'll give a little props to RBY Pokemon Challenges for at least, you know, being kind of daddy when it comes to this. So the fact that Nidorino did find a way through Brock gives me just a little bit of hope that we might be able to get something to go here. Here we start off with Leer and Peck, of course, which is not great. Peck is not even a strong move in and of itself, plus it's not same type. It's effectively on par with Tackle, but it is enough for the Zigzagoon. I think it will get us through all of these randos. And then let's see the level up learn set. We're going to get Focus Energy at level 8 and then Double Kick at level 12. Peck is going to be a problem though, because that's not going to be a move that actually gets us through anything. We may end up going struggle strats here. I didn't do the struggle strats with the Nidorina. I just didn't think it was actually going to do enough for us there. So we'll just have to see though. Here, Peck looks like it's going to be a 5-hit KO against the Mudkip. It still is enough to get through there and get to level 6. So let's just see how we go through the rest of this section. Now, I should note that I think that if these Pokemon had had the Poison Point ability in Gen 1 and Gen 2, they actually would have been completely OP, because against something like Brock, where he's just using the Geodude, if you could poison it because it always goes Tackle against you, and then just stall it out with a bunch of growls, you would get to the Onix basically every time. And then against Onix, you could just growl and Leer when it uses Bide and then attack it the rest of the time, and if it hits you with Tackle, yet again, it's gonna get poisoned. Brock would be, of course, using up all of his full heals, but by the time he got through them all, you would have his attack stat down so low that I think you'd be able to find a way through those fights. It would actually be really interesting to test that out in Gen 1, so I may need to look into a little bit of ROM hacking to see if we can somehow backport an ability like Poison Point to the original game. So sure enough, Nidorino does manage to get here to the Hiker, where I think we give an Oranberry, and let's just see how this fight actually goes against Devon. We have Focus Energy to raise our critical hit chance, which could make a big impact here. So here, I'm going to go Focus Energy turn 1. He goes Tackle against me, which is fine. I kind of want him to get poisoned. Now I'm just going to Peck. I know it's not going to do a lot of damage, but that's not really the point. We really want him to get stuck on using Defense Girl and just taking poison damage. Since, unlike us, he doesn't have any way to heal in this battle, we do end up having to use our Oranberry right there, so we are on great health going to the next Geodude. We didn't have any way to lower its attack stat. Still, we do get the second Geodude poisoned. We can go back into our Pecks with the poison on and just hope that it goes for the Defense Curl enough times. Here we are down to 1 HP, but we do manage to get the victory, getting to level 10 against Devon. So it's just barely enough. Nidorina is a little bit better there since it's more defensive and is able to lower his attack stat, just basically buying a ton of turns to be able to whittle them down with the Poison Point. Here we're a little more sus because we don't have so much defense to rely on. So we're going to have to see if the Oranberry plus the fact that we can get more crits is going to be enough for us to get through this. Let's see how this goes against Roxanne. So here, turn 1, I'm going to set up Focus Energy. We get Rock Tomb turn 1, of course. We're still faster, so it's going to Rock Tomb turn 2 as well as we use the Oranberry. Now we're hoping that she goes for Defense Girl. Instead, she goes for Rock Throw. Looks like Rock Throw would just 2-hit KO us from there. So we're not getting through on that attempt at least. Let's see if we get a run where we get some crits, and maybe it allows us to deal some decent damage. I'm also going to give a couple Leers here since we know we're getting the Rock Tombs anyway. That at least means that we did 2 damage with the first Peck, and crits will enable us to deal more damage. Still, we need her to get really focused in on the defense curl to have any shot here, and it just doesn't look like it's going to happen. And sure enough, we're just going down consistently. Still, I'm going to test one last thing since we are a little bit more offensive here. Let's just see what happens if we come into this fight with only 1 PP in focus energy, everything else set to 0. Does that allow us to get through with the focus energy plus struggle strats? Let's test this and find out. Now, the reason why this might be better is because critical hits could lead to us getting ranges where we knock Geodudes out in fewer turns, just because of the fact that we get a crit before she can heal. We do still have to use our Oranberry early on here though. She is using Defense Curl. We can see obviously that Struggle will do more damage. It's just not doing great damage here. We really need crits to ignore all of our defensive setup. This time we do get a crit, but we're all the way down to 1 HP, so we simply go down on the first Geodude right there. And here, this was basically the best attempt that I've managed to get. She did use a potion, and she got poisoned, but it just wasn't enough to get through. And that's the thing, struggle strats, because of her potions, is just not really going to be a strategy here, I don't think. So even in this case, where we have focus energy and we can use that to try to get extra critical hits, it basically just wasn't enough, means Nidorino is out of there. So coming back to look at our results so far, we end up with 21 Pokemon up there in the pass column, thanks to Arbok, Nidoqueen, and Nidoking, but we've added all of the unevolved forms to the fail column. So we're +3 pass, +5 fail so far in this episode. And now before we get into our electric types, I do kind of want to check in on our Sandslash here. Since it is the only remaining ground type, I want to see how it matches up compared to the Nidoking and Nidoqueen that we just did, because if the ground typing causes Roxanne to not really use her rock type moves outside of just speed control, we could get an advantage here. We're just going to have to see what the moveset is on this Sandslash. On top of that, Sandslash has good attack, defense, and HP, and its speed isn't that great, so it should be outsped pretty quickly, I think, which could give it a massive advantage. So we're just going to have to see how this one actually goes. So here I have put Sandslash into the Mudkip ball because with its lower special defense, I figured it would do worse against the Trico line. But we come in with a moveset of Scratch, Defense Curl, and Sand Attack. This is kind of interesting because Defense Curl could mean that we raise our defense enough that the Geodudes can't really damage us. Sand Attack to get the accuracy, and Scratch, while it's not great, at least gives us damage output. There could be a chance that we can get to struggle here naturally or something against Roxanne and manage to get a victory. For now, I think we're going to be basically fine, but let's test our Pokemon out against the rival. And it's worth noting we will learn no new moves in this section. Our next level up move is at level 17 where we get Poison Sting. Not great. It's also worth noting that our ability Sand Veil does nothing for us here because obviously we can't get any advantage from that without a Sandstorm. So we're just going to have to get through with what we've got. So for now, we'll come into the Rival 1 fight where I'm going to go Defense Curl turn 1 as she goes Leer against me. Let's just Mud Slap against the Trico as well. It goes Leer again. I'll just Defense Curl again. If it wants to play this whole like I'm trying to Leer you thing, we'll just do that till she gets a miss. Now we can Scratch, and Scratch looks like it's a 3-hit KO here. Anyway, so we get through nice and easy on the first attempt against May with our Sandslash. With that, I think we're perfectly good to go until Devon. So let's make our way to the hiker. Now, one thing that is at least worth thinking about with this Pokemon is that we can also get access to Cut, which would give us more PP. That might not be desirable here though. We might prefer to get to Struggle if anything, but if we get in a really long war of attrition here, we might even go for that strat in order to just have more PP if Struggle is resulting in us like fainting due to the extra recoil. So we'll just kind of have to see. For now, I'm going to get into the Devon fight, and I'm going to try to set up a bunch of defense curls, mud slap him, and then just see if we can manage to get through. Let's see how this goes. So I'm going to see if I can just sand attack here and lower his accuracy first. And then we'll go into defense curl, trying to raise our own defense. Obviously, if he wants to defense curl, that's perfectly fine by me because he's just giving us turns to lower his accuracy. Now, I don't think we need to go crazy hard on defense curl because I think at some point he's just going to do 2 damage, and that's basically as low as his damage is going to get in a neutral situation. So after a few of those defense curls, I'll now just go into scratch. It's obviously not going to do a lot of damage here, but if he can't hit me, we may be able to get through this. This is kind of the original sand attacking Pokemon, though I don't know, maybe Pidgey has something to say about that. Still, it is the strategy that you think of the most when you think of this Sandslash line, and we're definitely winning the damage race here. I did not put on an Oranberry in this one, and we're still on green health because Geodude really hasn't been able to hit too many tackles after getting its evasion dropped by 6 stages. So we get to level 8 as the second Geodude comes out, and I think we repeat the same strategy of just setting up a bunch of sand attacks first, getting its accuracy as low as possible, and then just trying to scratch this Pokemon down. I think we do need some crits here if we're going to get through with our remaining PP and not have to like really stall out hoping to get a victory, but still with just 1 or 2 crits, we should be able to get through this one. Still, we do sure enough run out of scratch PP, so we're going to have to hope that we can use up the rest of our PP to knock this one out. We have 13 HP remaining. With an Oranberry, I think we get through just fine, but here, honestly, we might need the cut in order to actually get this one to go. Ultimately, we did get knocked out there. So I'm going to go for cut here. While it's not a great move, it is technically a little bit stronger than scratch and gives us enough PP that we should be able to get through this fight on the second attempt. Now, ultimately, it takes a couple more attempts because I got bad critical hit luck in the previous attempt. In fact, I get another crit from the Geodude here, but we are finally able to get through on the 3rd try against Devon with the cut as an additional move. That still makes me really nervous going into Roxanne, of course, though, because we're going to be dealing with the situation where, once again, she's going to want to use a lot of defense curls. We don't have any strong moves here. Maybe our own defense curl plus sand attack gives us a chance, though. So let's get into this and see. So Roxanne attempt number 1, we're going to lead off with the sand attack here. We already resist Rock Tomb, so I don't think it's going to do crazy damage, but I really want to get her accuracy down as far as I can here. We're in a speed tie at this point. We end up using our Oranberry. It might have been better to go for defense curls earlier on in the fight, since we know that she's going to go for the Rock Tomb anyway. Still, I'm just going to set up all the defense here so that we basically can't be hit by anything. And then let's just go into attack and see if we can manage to whittle this one down. She'll definitely be going for potions on the Geodude. I see no way that we get through without her doing that. We get knocked out on the first attempt by a crit, but let's just try this one again. So instead, this time I'm going to set up my defense curl first on the basis that we want to lower her damage output as much as possible so that we can survive as many turns as possible. Now, once we get to +6 defense, now we'll go for the sand attacks, trying to lower the accuracy of the opponent. We won't go crazy on it right here against the Geodude. I'll just stop at 5, so I keep plenty for the next 2 Pokemon. And now we're just going to try to whittle this one down with our cuts. We can see that it still does decent damage against us. Even with all the defense curls set up, we were still taking like 2 or 3 damage per hit here. We use our Oranberry, so this is definitely going to be a war of attrition here. She uses a potion as we're now down below half health, and we have used up all of the cut PP, so now it's just scratch time, and we get another crit that knocks us out. And it just doesn't look like we're managing to get through with this. However, I am going to test another strategy here because I'm very interested to see, which is going to be a struggle strat. I've said that struggle doesn't really work, but this could be one of those rare cases where it actually makes sense. So here's the strat. We're going to come in with this Sandslash with no PP and Scratch or Cut. We'll assume that we use those up against wild Pokemon, and now we have 6 defense curls and we have 2 sand attacks. We're going for the sand attacks hoping for some misses. We're going for the defense curls obviously to take as little damage as possible from the opponent's moves. Once we use up 6 defense curls, we'll now sand attack, and now it's time to struggle and see how much damage we actually do. Obviously, a non-crit after all these defense curls from the Geodude means that we're basically doing no damage with struggle. Crits do really significant damage though. We still have the Oranberry on, so this might be one of the best potential spots for us to use struggle, since we can get our defense up and get the accuracy of the opponent down. But here, even then, we can see that we're not even getting through the first Geodude because the defense is just too high. She has the healing, so once again, struggle strats just aren't enough to get a Pokemon through this section of the game. You give this Sandslash any ground type move and I guarantee it just crushes here, but the fact that it's stuck with only normal type moves at this point in the game basically means it's out of there, and that means Sandshrew is out of there as well. Say bye-bye Sandshrew. It's time to move on in this one. And that's going to bring us into another Pokemon that I have very little confidence in, and that is, of course, Raichu. Raichu has some good things going for it. It is really fast, and it does have a decent attack stat and special attack stat, but its defense and its HP are not great, and I think we're not going to get any good moves to use here against Roxanne. That is my prediction. Let's see if it actually works out the way I think it is. Maybe we get a move that I'm not thinking of here that allows this Pokemon to progress, but I'm really not confident. If this were a surfing Raichu, sure, I think it would get through super easily, but anything less than that, I think is not going to get this Pokemon through. I could be wrong. Nosepass is, of course, just a rock type. We could use electric type moves on that Pokemon. I think it's the Geodudes that are going to definitely short us out though here and basically guarantee that there's no way to progress. Now, I am basically putting electric types into the Torchic ball since Mudkip is immune to electric type moves. So let's just see how this goes with our Raichu. We're coming in with Thundershock, Tail Whip, Quick Attack, and Thunderbolt. Obviously, Thunderbolt's great here in the first fight. I think Thunderbolt's going to carry us all the way to Devon. I just don't think we're going to even be able to beat Devon, though, with our Quick Attack and Tail Whip strats. We may be able to go for some like Tail Whip into struggle against Devon at least, but then I think Roxanne is just a hard wall. Still, we can come into the Mudkip fight where we have to go for the quick attack since our stronger moves don't even work here. Still, it's going to be a pretty easy 5-hit KO, and we do have the static ability, which will cause our opponents to become paralyzed if they make contact with us. So that's kind of good. Again, I just don't think it's going to be enough in the end unless we got some sort of crazy paralysis luck. And if we could ever get to Roxanne, then that would be great. Then we would have the advantage of simply being able to knock out the Nosepass with the Stab Thunderbolt. And I think that would be enough to get through there. I just don't think we're getting to that point. Still, for now, we may as well just have all the Thundershocks and just see how we do against all these randos. Youngster Calvin gets one shot. I think the Team Aqua Grunt is going to find out that Aqua representing water means that the electric types are going to destroy him. But I think that's pretty much as far as this one goes. I am very interested, though, looking at the moveset that Raichu learns Dig in this generation. Definitely not something that I've ever seen in previous gens, a digging Raichu. That would be kind of hilarious to use against Roxanne to see if it gets you through at least to the final Nosepass. You probably give up on that move when you get the Nosepass because Thunderbolt is better, but, you know, it could still be a funny strategy for somebody to try. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. If you're looking for a channel member or Patreon pick after this one, this might be a Pokemon to go for. And if this one does fail, I will be interested to come back in a later run and see how a surfing variant of this Pokemon does, since everybody likes surfing Pikachu and Raichu. So here, let's just see how we do against Hiker Devon. We can obviously go quick attack here, but it's not doing much damage. We're only doing 1 damage per hit. We can tail whip after that to see if it will do anything for us. And if he doesn't go for a bunch of defense curls, we can actually reach the point of doing like 2 damage per hit here, which is great. Still, I think we would need an Oran Berry to even have a shot of getting through this first Pokemon, because after he defense curls enough times, we're doing nothing and he's doing like 5 damage per hit with the tackle. So we go down pretty easily there. Still, let's just give an Oran Berry here and see if that gives us any sort of advantage, but I'm not too hopeful. So this time we do paralyze the first Geodude at least, thanks to the static ability, and we do get a heal with the Oran Berry, and we got quite a few defense drops, so we actually get through that first one, getting to level 8. Against the second Geodude, I'm going to go for a lot of tail whips again, hoping to lower its defense and just hoping it goes for something else for a turn or two, allowing us to get enough tail whips in that we actually deal decent damage. Sure enough, we do get him to go for things like Mud Sport and tackle a few turns. Still, he manages to take me down before I can get through the second Geodude. I think that's basically all she wrote for this Pokemon. I just don't see a way that we're getting through Roxanne when we're already struggling so hard here on Devon. Though if we get enough turns of it being fully paralyzed due to the static ability, we could maybe find a way through this fight. Wait just a second here. Still, this might take a lucky crit to actually get through, because even after we paralyze him, he just manages to hit me and knock me out when I'm on low health. Still, we finally do get an attempt where we make it through Devon thanks to just enough turns of paralysis. So that could be the strategy. If we do get through this, it's going to be incredibly luck-based and it's going to take a lot of time, but maybe, just maybe, we could get through if we manage to paralyze the opponents. Still, they might just decide not to make contact, meaning that we never get to paralyze them, and then we just lose. Let's see how this goes. Now, against Roxanne first attempt, the only thing to do turn 1 is to use the Tail Whip. We didn't go in with an Oran Berry, so we just got 2 hit KO'd there. Let's try this again, just because with the Oran Berry, we might survive a turn, but I'm honestly not too confident. We're already super fast, so it's going to take like 3 Rock Tombs to make us slower than the Geodude, and getting 2 hit KO'd there basically means that we're going to get wrecked in this one. Still, we get a nice Rock Tomb miss turn 1 here. Second Rock Tomb takes me down to about half health. We survive with 1 HP on the second of the Rock Tombs, and now we're basically in the situation where we're only doing 3 damage per hit after a couple of tail whips, and we simply get knocked out. So it's pretty clear that this Raichu is not getting through this. Number 1, because her starting move is not actually going to lead to getting static, I don't believe. And number 2, because even if it did, we would just need so many turns for her to not move or to miss, and to get a bunch of defense drops on her, and to use quick attack to get through. This is simply not going to work. Still, this is one case where I will still look at Pikachu in spite of the fact that its evolved form was eliminated, and the entire reason is because of the fact that Raichu is a stone evolution. What that means is that Raichu basically gets no level up moves, and that may create a situation where Pikachu gets a different learn set that somehow gives it an advantage. We've still got the static ability. We're obviously weaker in every possible way. Speed is like our only really good stat here, but still, we might be able to get some sort of advantage by getting a different moveset. Granted, I'm not confident that we're going to gain enough levels to actually make any real impact here. So here we'll lead off with the Pikachu. We know Thunder Shock and Growl is our starting moveset. We do manage to 2-hit KO the Zigzagoon, but with only Thunder Shock, that means we don't have a damage dealing move to use against Mudkip. And because we have to win this fight, that means that the only strategy here is to go struggle in the first rival fight. After that, we will get Tail Whip at level 6 and Thunder Wave at level 9, so pretty standard stuff. That means that we won't actually get a move that can even damage the rock types, so we will be forced to struggle. So this one's basically over at this point, but let's just see how far we actually get. Here we can struggle against the Mudkip. It's going to be a 4 or 5 hit KO. We do get it paralyzed with the static ability, so we do win the first rival fight. The Poochyenas should be no difficulty for us because I think Thundershock will be more than enough there. Plus they could just paralyze themselves by hitting us with a tackle, but I think that's basically as far as we're getting in this one. It's always kind of sad when you get a Pokemon that levels up and learns something like Tail Whip and doesn't have a move to use together with that because its only attacking move is a special attack. And granted, we already know that Tail Whip plus Struggle is not enough with stronger Pokemon than this. So, I mean, we could simply eliminate it right here, but I do just want to see if we can somehow find a range that gets us through Devon with the Struggle. We'll kind of treat that as our final battle with this Pikachu. So as we go into the Devon fight, I'm going to give an Oranberry, and I'm going to go in with only 1 PP and Growl, just to lower the attack power of the first Geodude, and then we're going to try to struggle and just see if this works or not. So we Growl once to lower its attack, and now Struggle from our Pikachu, even with no defense curls, did 3 damage. We take a critical hit tackle. We do get the static paralysis, but that basically means that this one's over, I think. Like, I just see no way that we actually get through this. Still, we are managing to get a decent amount of struggle damage on this Geodude, so we might at least take one of them down, and that's a small victory in and of itself. Still, we get to the second Geodude with only 8 HP remaining, and we learn Thunder Wave, so we can't even struggle against this Pokemon, and that basically guarantees the loss. I mean, Thunder Wave can't affect this one, and we wouldn't have enough HP to struggle it down anyway, so we simply lose right there. We even paralyze him at the end just out of spite, but the fact is that we got knocked out, and that was all there was to say about that one. So yeah, you don't get through Devon with Pikachu. That means you don't get through Roxanne with Pikachu. Basically the end of the story. So now let's check in on Lanturn and Chinchou and see if maybe they get some water type move that actually allows them to progress. If not, I think they're in bad shape. I should also just quickly note that Pichu is going to be out of this one as well, because if Pikachu can't get through, I don't see Pichu getting through. It's going to have Charm here, I think, but it's just not going to have enough damage output to actually get through this fight. That's my feelings anyway. Tell me if you think I'm wrong in the comment section. But for now, I'm going to eliminate the first of the baby Pokemon as well. So now we get to Lanturn, and this Pokemon in Gen 2 was absolutely insane because it's in the slow level up group. I think this is our first slow level up Pokemon, so we're really going to have to see what level we actually get to with this level group here. We could be in a situation where we don't even get to level 8, which means we don't get the damage rounding level that we might need there. Of course, if we get a water type move, we might still be fine, so we're just going to have to see how this actually works out. We are coming in with a lot of base HP here, but everything else is really middling. So this could just be a really tough Pokemon to get through the game. Now, I did ultimately decide to put Lanturn up against the Mudkip line on the basis that I thought it would get more strong electric moves early on, and maybe that would make this harder. Tell me if you think that's a mistake, because we could go up against the Trico line as well, depending on what our moveset is here. We come in with Bubble, Thunder Wave, and Supersonic. So yeah, I think we should have gone up against Trico, but Bubble, while it's super weak, does give us a strategy here, and we can confuse opponents. So this might actually work out. It might not be the prettiest, but we've seen Bubble work before on Roxanne. Granted, that was with a Pokemon in the medium slow level up group, so it was getting a lot more levels here. I wouldn't be surprised if we go into the gym at level 7, and that could have a really big impact. Still, with Game Hook, I can actually manipulate it to force May to have Trico. So let's just see how this goes here. I'm going to Thunder Wave the Trico first. We'll go for Supersonic after that, so it could hit itself in confusion. Now we'll go for Bubble, which isn't going to be very strong here, but we should at least have a chance of getting through. We do want to keep this Trico confused if we can, though, since we are going to be in a kind of bad situation here, not dealing much damage with Bubble. It does hit itself a couple times in confusion though, and that is enough to allow us to get the victory. So we beat May on the first attempt, and we're ready to move on in this one. Now, we won't get a level up move until level 13 where we learn Flail, so that's not going to be great. But again, if we can manage to get to Devon, I think that Bubble's going to be strong enough. And then the question is just going to be, how do we do against Roxanne herself? We're not a super fast Pokemon, so we probably won't take a lot of Rock Tombs there, and we may be able to simply use Bubble in order to get through anyway. So we'll just have to see. Our good HP could be a major factor in this one. Now, we should just test and see how much damage Bubble does. We'll try it out here on Devon. Here we can go Bubble on the first Geodude, and it nearly one-hit KOs this Pokemon. We can see we're going to level up to level 7 right here as we get through that one. Let's see if we get to level 8 off of the second Geodude. We do manage to get the one-hit KO, and we get to level 8. So that tells us that a slow level up Pokemon will still manage to get a damage rounding level here before we go into the Roxanne fight. That is huge, because it means that we'll be doing a little more damage to these first couple Geodudes. I don't think we'll be one-hit KOing, but we might be two-shotting here. That might be enough. This could also be a Pokemon for whom the Quick Claw is actually more important than the healing, on the basis that we'll almost certainly get Rock Tombed turn 1 and turn 2. But if we can survive that, we might still be in a situation where we can just use the Quick Claw to outspeed. Still, I'm going to try going in with the Oranberry first. Let's just see how this goes against Roxanne in our first attempt. So first attempt against Roxanne, I'm going to go Supersonic turn 1 on the Geodude. We miss. We hit it the next turn, and we kind of want it to hit itself in confusion. It misses the Rock Tomb there. And we can see this is a 2-hit KO. It hits itself in confusion. She's going to Potion, but that's perfectly fine. That's just going to let us knock that Pokemon out in a couple more turns. The next Geodude, I still think we want to go for Supersonic here, hoping that it hits itself. Instead, it misses Rock Tomb. That's nice luck for us. It misses Rock Tomb again. She Potions again. That's going to allow us to get through this Pokemon and get to the final Nose Pass. Now, fortunately, Nose Pass is fairly fast, so it's not going to go for Rock Tomb, I don't think. So we can confuse this Pokemon to just try to buy ourselves more time. We missed the first two Supersonics, but we hit the third one. It's just going Harden, which is perfectly fine. We can see that Bubble does basically nothing, 6 damage here, but it is confused. It hits itself once. We get a nice critical hit, forcing the Oranberry. Now it goes Tackle, but it's not doing that much damage. We use our own Oranberry right here. The Nose Pass snaps out of confusion. I am going to reconfuse it just because I don't know the range for Rock Tomb here. It hits itself again, and that does allow me to get the victory, getting to level 10 on the first attempt against Roxanne. So it turns out Lanturn really isn't that bad. The fact that we get to level 8 makes a huge difference, and we got really good accuracy luck there. I mean, a couple Rock Tombs missed by the Geodudes gave us what we needed to actually get to the Nose Pass still with the Oranberry on and still be slow enough that it wasn't going to Rock Tomb against us. So we managed to get the victory with that one. Now we got to check in on Chinchou. Now, Chinchou's whole issue is that it just has much lower defense here, so it's going to take a lot more damage from things like Rock Tomb, which could be a major problem in this one. We're just going to have to see, and if we start with only Bubble at the start of the game, we're going to be in bad shape. We're going to have to struggle against the rival, I think, in order to get a win there, and then it's just going to be a question if we can get through everything else. We might be able to luck our way through Roxanne, but we'll just have to see. So once again, I did put Chinchou into the Torchic Ball, but we find that we come in with the exact same moveset as Lanturn here, and this could actually lead to us getting a victory. We'll just paralyze the Zigzagoon, and it's going to be a 3-hit KO from there. We're probably not going to be great against Trico. I will set it so that we go against Trico, even though I put this one into the Torchic Ball, but we're going to have to see if we can manage enough paralysis and confusion luck to get through this fight. So May attempt number 1, we're going to paralyze her turn 1. Now go for Supersonic so that Trico can hit itself in confusion. It does. Bubble does basically nothing, but paralysis is helping a little bit here. It snaps out of confusion though. Anytime that happens, I'm going to reconfuse Trico because I really want it to hit itself. That's going to deal a lot more damage than what we deal with the bubble here. Here it does hit itself in confusion again though. I think that's going to be enough. Sure enough it is. We beat May on the first attempt, even when we gave her the Trico starter. This is partially because we're running on max IVs. This is the strongest possible Chinchou at this point in the game, short of, you know, grinding massive numbers of levels here. But with that fight working, I think we can get through the 2 Poochyenas, and then we may be able to just crush Devin. And then it's just a question of how we do against Roxanne herself. So let's get into this and find out. I'm cautiously optimistic with this Pokemon. So I will also just test Chinchou against Devin here, where we can see yet again, we're getting a 2-hit KO range against the first Geodude as we get to level 7. Second Geodude is also a 1-hit KO, so we get to level 8 super easily there. That means that we're on to the Roxanne gym on minimum battles with this Pokemon. We haven't actually taken any resets at this point with Chinchou, which is nuts. Like the overlay shows a bunch of resets and whatnot, but that's all cumulative so far. And remember, the optional battles aren't actually optional battles. It's just that I haven't programmed in the required battles yet so that they won't be counted. So yeah, this could actually be possible with Chinchou. I'm going to give another Orange Berry here. We're a little bit slower, so we might have a situation where we can be outsped after a couple of Rock Tombs, but we're really hoping for the luck for Confusion plus the Bubble to take these first 2 Geodudes down. Let's see how this goes. So Roxanne attempt number 1, I'm going to confuse the Geodude turn 1. It hits itself in confusion. That is perfect. Now we go Bubble. We're going to need 2 hits here, but it gets another Rock Tomb miss. She potions, but that just allows us to knock the first Geodude out with no damage, getting to level 9. We land Supersonic on the second Geodude. It goes Rock Tomb here, doing about half to us. Still, we're faster. We go for the Bubble. It snaps out of confusion though and knocks me out with a Rock Throw. So this is clearly going to be a little bit luck-based. We're going to need some good confusion luck here in order to get through this fight. I think we just reset anytime we don't land Supersonic on the Geodude and it doesn't hit itself in confusion or get a miss with the Rock Tomb. We could also get a critical hit turn 1 with Bubble in order to knock the Geodude out. So that's another strategy that we can go for, called my shot here. In which case, even with 1 Rock Tomb, we will manage to get to the final Nose Pass as she just potions up from there. And now we do get to go to Nose Pass being slower, so we can use Supersonic to confuse it. It hits itself in confusion there. We use Bubble, and we're just really hoping that it goes for a bunch of like defense curls there. It Rock Tombed me down that time. This time we get another miss from Rock Tomb on the first Geodude, so it's a little bit better than just needing a crit. In fact, we get misses from the first 2 Geodudes, so we go to the Nose Pass on full health. We're faster, we confuse it, it hits itself in confusion turn 1. We manage to use Bubble here. I should be thinking about the fact that we can paralyze this Pokemon as well, since it is just a pure rock type. Granted, that may cause her to just use Rock Tomb against me, which might not be ideal. We might actually want to keep this Nose Pass being faster than us. Still, I think we basically want to get a crit on one of these 2 Geodudes or get the miss from the Rock Tomb in order to get through this to the Nose Pass. Once we get that, I'm pretty sure she basically potions here. She goes Defense Curl this time with the first Geodude, which is even better because that means that we don't even have to mess around with a crit there. We get the Rock Tomb from the second Geodude, but she just goes for the potion and that allows us to knock that one out. But at this level of HP, we might be in a range where we're already getting just one shot by the Rock Tomb. Sure enough, from the Nose Pass, it just took me down. Still, we get another run where we crit the first Geodude and then the second Geodude went for Defense Curls. So we get to the Nose Pass on full health. We will paralyze this one. It's paralyzed and can't move. We miss Supersonic, which is terrible. Still, we do manage to use the Orange Berry right there. It's paralyzed and confused. It snaps out of confusion here and unfortunately we couldn't manage to take it down from there. But I do think at this point we just go for Bubble turn 1 on the Geodude on the chance that it could just go Defense Curl some percentage of the time, basically handing us a victory. It's just not going to be super consistent from there if we ever get to the Nose Pass on anything less than full health. Still, let's try a run where we don't try to paralyze the Nose Pass and we just go all in on attack here after getting it confused. She uses the Oran Berry this time. Now she tackles, but then she gets us in the range to Rock Tomb us down, so we simply lose. We missed the confusion. We need a lot of luck with confusion in this one, I think, to get it to go. So it seems like we need to have at least 20 HP as we go to the final Nose Pass to have any chance in this one, because anything less than that results in her going for Rock Tomb and knocking us out. This time we are getting a lot of luck for the Nose Pass to keep hitting itself in confusion or being fully paralyzed. It hits itself again here. She just used her last potion, but we'll need a lot of turns of it doing that because I think a Rock Tomb will knock us out from this range. Sure enough, it does. So that's why this is so luck-based. We really need the run where we get her to use the potions on the Geodudes so that we get to the final Nose Pass and it doesn't have that extra healing. And she can do that by, say, going Defense Curl with the Geodudes and allowing us to get one bubble on them that causes them to heal when they miss a Rock Tomb, for example, or they just use that Defense Curl. Basically 2 ways it can work. And we do get some of these attempts where we manage to get through to the Nose Pass on full health. I think we could take 1 Rock Tomb from the Geodudes and we're basically fine as long as we manage to get the potions used here. This time we're once again getting really good confusion luck. We managed to paralyze it after it's used its Oran Berry. We're still hoping that it hits itself a couple more times in confusion though. It doesn't and we lose. Now I've been at this one for a hot minute here. My overlay even crashed, so I took a lot more attempts than just the 10 that it shows down there. This is about the best luck that we get. Getting to the Nose Pass on full health, getting it confused. It can still hit Rock Tomb. We have to heal. Then we can go for the bubble strats here. Once we get the speed drop, we may as well just paralyze it as well to at least get a higher chance of it not moving for a turn. We can survive 1 more Rock Tomb. Now we need to reconfuse the Nose Pass, but if it doesn't hit itself in confusion a bunch of times, we simply don't get through here. So I'm not saying that it's impossible to get through with Chinchou here. Obviously it is eventually, but the amount of luck that it would take is actually pretty insane at the end of the day. Because of how much healing she has, you can actually get to the final Nose Pass pretty consistently as long as you just get 1 miss somewhere in here. You don't actually mind taking the first Rock Tomb because you like for her to heal, and it already means you're slower when you get to the Nose Pass, so it's less likely to go for Rock Tomb itself. So this is exactly the situation that you're generally looking for, to get the 2 Geodudes healed with potions so you can get to the final Nose Pass here. It will outspeed and go harden, but that's perfectly fine. You just want to confuse this Pokemon if you can actually manage to land the Supersonic. Then Bubble does have the chance to slow it down, so we may as well paralyze this Pokemon anyway. We will again survive 1 Rock Tomb here, but then we need a lot of paralysis and confusion luck. It still has an Oran Berry on, so when it snaps out of confusion, you need it to either miss or to be fully paralyzed. Then you can try to confuse it again, but it's just really hard to get all the luck here to line up the way that you need it to actually get through this fight. It's even worse if she decides to go Rock Throw turn 1 rather than Rock Tomb, so that you're still faster than everything, so that she still wants to Rock Tomb you with everything. But for now, I think it's too luck-based to get through this one based on the ranges that I'm seeing. Even with the max IVs, it just doesn't seem to me enough with this Chinchou without getting some really god tier confusion and paralysis luck at the end of the fight. So with that, I think I just have to eliminate Chinchou from this one because I just can't seem to get the luck to actually get this to work out. I've been sitting here trying for quite a while and I just think that it's not going to work in the end. Like I said, the overlay reset midway through this, so I've probably actually been here for like 20-30 minutes trying to get it to go with a lot of speed up through the Geodudes. A lot of cases where I know to just reset when I get hit twice by Rock Tomb because you're not going to have the HP to survive against the final Nose Pass. That seems to be all there is to say about this Pokemon. So coming back to our results so far, we can see that Lanturn does jump up there into that pass column, but Pikachu, Raichu, and Chinchou are eliminated. So unfortunately, we're going to have to move on without those Pokemon. We still have quite a few to go in this one, but before we get into the rest of our Pokemon for today, let's do our first member pick, that Linoone, that is coming in with HM moves only. Let's see how it does now against Roxanne with the powered up moveset. Now, of course, Linoone left off previously here at Roxanne. It had managed to get through to this fight, but its moveset of Headbutt, Growl, Tail Whip, and Tackle simply wasn't enough to get through. But that's why we're coming in with channel member 404 Base 6 with a double S on that, and his very special Linoone, HMFriend. A Linoone whose moveset is visible just on the summary screen: Surf, Strength, Cut, and Rock Smash. Now with the Surf strats, we might just have a good chance here against Roxanne. So let's get into this fight and see how it actually goes. So Roxanne attempt number 1 with our HMFriend. We're going to go for Surf on the first Geodude, scoring a 1-hit KO. That gets us to level 9. We could learn Headbutt, but we can't forget any of these HM moves, so we're just going to skip that for now. Let's move on to the second Geodude. We go for Surf, getting another 1-hitter, getting us to level 10. Now we've made it to Roxanne's ace. Of course, we've got the nose pass in front of us. Surf is the best move here. Let's see how much it actually does though. Surf did 12 damage here. It is a non-same type move, so that is a factor. And it looks like it's basically a 3-hitter. She'll Oranberry right there. She's gonna have to potion at some point, I think. We will Oranberry ourselves. We might need a crit here in order to get through, as she just goes for a ridiculous number of healing items, but then she goes block and then tackle. So we actually managed to get through on the first attempt with our HMFriend, and we get all the way to level 12. We gain 2 levels on the nose pass, so Roxanne goes down. Turns out that you just need HMFriends to actually get through this gym. So with that, let me just give a massive thank you to the first channel member pick from 404 Base 6 here. Your HMFriend has managed to crumble Roxanne's defenses. Thank you for joining as one of the first patrons of the channel. If you'd like to get in on the action, support a Pokemon that you like, and support the channel, head over to that Patreon that's linked down below. With that, let's get back to the action. So now we can see Linoone does get down into the completed member picks, and we'll just be adding more and more as Patreon members, and eventually YouTube channel memberships are also open for people to choose Pokemon that they'd like to save. We can already see we've got 49 Pokemon available if you want them. Plenty of Pokemon that I think you could give even 1 or 2 moves to and get them through this section. One of the members has told me in advance a Pokemon that he wants on the basis that he thinks it's going to fail, though we will have to, of course, validate and see. And I will mention that there are 2 Pokemon that are never available for people to sponsor because they are essentially my personal Pokemon. The first is going to be Arcanine when we get there. Arcanine has always been my favorite Pokemon in the entire history of the franchise. I get the feeling it's going to fail here, but I will make it my personal pick in order to run through the game, because I would not feel right doing this series without an Arcanine still in the action. The second Pokemon that I will save myself, because I strongly believe that it's going to fail here, is going to be Cleffa. There's an entire story behind Cleffa, but it's basically my baby boy's Pokemon. It was the first Pokemon that he ever got as a stuffed toy, so Cleffa has to be run as far as it can possibly go in the game, even if I have to give it every possible broken advantage in order to do so, because that's the one that my little guy's rooting for. Any other Pokemon in the fail column though, if you are a channel member, you can choose it and save it. You can say Caterpie, and I will give that Caterpie the most god tier moveset that has ever existed in the history of the Pokemon franchise, just to see if it's possible to beat the game or not. So let your creativity run wild. Still, for now, let's get back to our action for today, let's get to Togetic and Xatu, two Pokemon that I'm not sure are actually going to get through this section, but we're going to have to test them out and see. And we're going to start with that Togetic. After we get through these ones, then we'll look at the Gen 3 Pokemon, finally getting a little bit of the current generation action. But I think those Pokemon are going to outperform compared to these flying types. Let's see how they go though. So Togetic is kind of interesting here in that it is a very defensive Pokemon. We're going to have to see if those defenses are enough, and more specifically, what moves we get via level up. I'm pretty sure we get Metronome at some point, and that might allow us to win. But keep in mind, we saw that Surf was not one-hit KOing or even getting close to a one-hit KO on the Nose Pass when we were just using that HMFriend. So it's hard to think what moves we could actually Metronome that would be that good there, given that we are going to have the weakness to the rock type. Still, for now, we'll get the happiness Pokemon and see if it leads to us being happy. We are going to go up against the Torchic line just because I assume that will be pretty bad later on. And here our starting moveset is Charm and Growl. So I guess our best play is to just go Charm over and over again on the Zigzagoon. But this basically means we have to struggle against rival number 1. We probably can't even knock out the Zigzagoon. This might actually be impossible because eventually, from what people tell me, it just runs away. So yeah, we're gonna just sit here and spam Charm until it gives up on actually fighting us. And Birch can be like, oh yeah, you're such a great Pokemon trainer. You made a Zigzagoon get so tired of being charmed that it just ran away from you. So that is our first Pokemon that legitimately cannot win against the Zigzagoon. Granted, it's not a ton of XP. It might affect things a little bit here, but we are in the fast growth rate. The more pressing issue is that we have to go struggle right here against the first rival. So my strategy is going to be pretty simple. Through the powers of the game hook, I'm going to set it so that I have only 1 PP in Charm. That's it. And then we'll go struggle from there, just because I think Charm will help us guarantee that we don't get knocked out. Let's see how this goes. So rival 1, attempt number 1. Let's go Charm turn 1. And now it's into the struggle strats. And we even miss struggle. Wait, struggle can miss? What? So yeah, we end up getting through that fight, but it's really not great. And we still have not leveled up. Turns out that a fast level up Pokemon does not level up at this point. And we're going to need all the potions we can get in this one, since we're going to have to go struggle until we can get a move. And we get Metronome at level 6, then Sweet Kiss at level 11. Those are our 2 moves that we should have in this section. We'll see if we get to level 11 before the Nose Pass, but this is going to be pretty sus. Still, we just have to get through Youngster Calvin and then we will get our Metronome. So let's just see how this goes. So in this one, we are struggling. It's pretty clearly a 3-hit KO here, but not too bad to get through that. We've got the Metronome, and now we're just going to be praying for the luck to actually get through things. And who knows, we might just get something crazy that allows us to get through Roxanne. I'm not super confident going into that fight, but we're just going to have to see how many resets it even takes to get there with the Metronome. And this is probably really a question of what are the odds of getting 3 moves in a row that are good against Roxanne's Pokemon. Since we are the flying type, we will be getting completely wrecked when we get hit by the Rock Tomb and Rock Throw. So I guess that at best we're a 2-hit KO there, like in the absolute best case. And since we've got the hustle ability, which means we can miss even more with things, let's just see if this can work out or not. I'm gonna have to actually look at all of these fights. We're starting against the Team Aqua Grunt, where I'm gonna go for the Metronome here, and we get Perish Song. So we need to knock this one out quick or we're going to die. We get Shockwave after that, then we charge, and then we miss, and now we both die. Congratulations, that's a loss. Let's see if we can get a better Metronome movement than that in this next one. This time we get Aromatherapy. Toxic, okay, that's actually good. That could allow us to win. Ember, which doesn't do a lot, but we are getting the toxic damage. Now we're glowing, and we use the sky attack and we win. So we get to level 7 right there. That's nice. But we had a reset on the team Aqua Grunt. Now we have to go to Devon and hope that we can find a way through him with a couple of lucky moves and see what fast level up Pokemon actually get to before they get to Roxanne. I'm guessing that we're getting to level 9 here, but let's just see if that's actually the case. So with that, we've made it to Hiker Devon. Let's see how he goes with Metronome strats. We use Metronome and get Tri-Attack turn 1. That's not great, but he just goes Mud Sport, so that's fine. Flame Wheel doesn't do much, but does burn the Geodude. I didn't come in healed to this one. We go Psywave after that. We did use an Oran Berry in order to heal up. We used Lock On, but that did nothing. Still, the first Geodude does go down. Second Geodude comes out. We Metronome Cotton Spore to lower its speed. Now we're stuck using Struggle, and we keep missing Struggle here because of our Hustle ability. And if he just starts attacking like crazy, we're simply going to lose because we keep missing everything. So sure enough, we lose the first attempt. Let's actually heal so that we have proper PP and try this one again. So Hiker Devon round 2, I'm going to Charm once to lower the damage output of these Geodudes. Now we can go to the Metronome and we really hope that we actually land something. Here we get Vital Throw, but it doesn't do enough. We get Minimize. We miss Dynamic Punch. Now we hit Mist Ball, which does pretty decent damage. We try to go Present and fail. We use Barrier, which is not really useful here. Finally, we get Steel Wing, but now we have only 1 PP in Metronome as we go to the next Geodude. So if we don't hit something good, we're going to lose. We get Bite, and now we have so much PP in Charm and Growl that I think there's no way that we get through this battle. We of course make sure to charm him until he has no attack stat left, but it doesn't matter. He gets a critical hit on us, and now he's just doing 2 damage per hit, and we still have 40 PP in Growl to go through, so we're clearly losing this attempt. So let's try again to get some better Metronome moves. This time we get Icicle Spear. That was all right. Then Outrage knocks out the Geodude. We get to level 8. We continue to use Outrage on the second Geodude, and we get the one-shot there, getting to level 9. So we did manage to finally beat Devon. It wasn't great, but we do get to level 9 with fast level up Pokemon here. It's pretty clear that the Zigzagoon XP would not be enough to get us to level 10 at this point. So this is about the best that we can do as we go into the gym. Now the question is, how many moves can actually one-shot against the Geodudes? And how many moves can actually 1 or at least 2 hit KO against the Nose Pass? I'm not sure, but let's get into this and see if we can somehow get the luck to get this to work out. So Roxanne attempt number 1, we go for Metronome right here. We get Zap Cannon, which does nothing. We see we took 21 damage from the very first hit. Now we get Poison Fang, which would be nice, except we just simply get knocked out the next turn. So clearly that's not going to be enough. Next attempt, we tried to use Aerial Ace, and we simply lost. We get Metal Claw, but it does basically nothing. And 1 Rock Tomb means that we're slower than the Geodude, and we simply go down from there. It might actually be worth going Charm here, just to try to buy an extra turn after we heal. Unfortunately, we can miss Charm, so we're gonna have to reset here. Once we get Charm, we actually take less than half damage from the first hit. The Geodude goes for Defense Curl. We get Water Gun, then Sweet Scent, right type but wrong move. Now Bone Club, then we get Dream Eater while the opponent is still awake, and now we Double Slap, and we're basically gonna go down right here. Like Rock Throw, we survived 1 more hit, but then we get Overheat, Belly Drum fails, and then we use Frustration because that's clearly how we feel about this run. Now I'm certain that with the right kind of luck we could eventually get through this, and it's pretty clear that using Charm is a good strategy at the start of the fight since it does make us a lot more survivable. But the problem is that even with the extra turns, we're just highly unlikely to actually be able to get through this fight. This time we get Crab Hammer, so we do knock out the first Geodude, Geodude, but we've only got 2 PP left in Metronome, so we'll need perfect moves to get through from here. Foresight is not going to do the job, and with that, it's basically game over. This time we get Bubble Beam on our second Metronome, so we get through the first Geodude just fine. Then we get Belly Drum though, and that just guarantees that we lose because we don't have enough HP. So frankly, we probably only have a chance to get through this fight if we somehow get a perfect Metronome turn 1 and a perfect Metronome turn 2. Otherwise, we're simply going to lose because I'm pretty sure that we'll get wrecked by the Nose Pass. This time we get Waterfall on the third turn after getting Sing the first turn to put that Geodude to sleep. Cut does nothing. Shockwave also does nothing. Spark does nothing, and we lose. Here we use Dive turn 1 to get through though. Let's see if we can get some luck here as we get to level 10. We use Psychic the next turn on the Geodude, and it just goes Defense Curl. Body Slam does nothing. We still get the Rock Tomb right here, but we are faster. We go Mega Horn, and now we use Bounce, which does nothing, but we get a miss, only to get knocked out on the next turn. That is basically the best luck that I've managed so far. So we're basically in a bad spot here. And here is we're getting up towards like 40 attempts on this one. I just don't think that this actually works out often enough to justify giving this Pokemon any more of a chance. And while you could say Togepi doesn't have a weakness here, Togepi's stats are going to be so much lower that I also just don't see any way that that Pokemon manages to get through. Like if you're not getting it with the Togetic, when we have gotten some super effective moves here, it's just hard to see how you're ever going to actually make this work. Again, it's one of these where you'll definitely get it eventually. It's not like this is impossible by any means. It's just incredibly luck-based to get this, and we even go Explosion this time just to finish it off nice and easy here. After a ton of attempts, I cannot get this one to go. Again, we could probably reset all day and eventually get it, but that's not what we're really going for in this challenge. So with that, I'm going to eliminate Togetic and Togepi. Let's check in on Xatu. But after thinking about it for a little while, I decided that I would at least try Togepi here, just because I want to see how it actually performs without the weakness to the rock type. It could be a situation where it actually pans out to be something, though I highly doubt it, because we're coming in with baby stats, which means only our defenses are 65. Everything is super weak outside of that. But who knows? We might naturally be slower than the Nose Pass and even against some of the Geodudes, and that may lead to us not getting so many hits from Rock Tomb, maybe just giving us a chance. Maybe. So I'm simply gonna take Togepi and see here. Obviously we start with Charm and Growl, so we can't damage anything at the start of the game. So we're gonna have to go for these same sort of struggle strats against rival number 1, and we won't get any XP here against this Zigzagoon. So once again, we'll lock it in so that we come into the rival fight with 1 Charm and no Growls, assuming that we just ran around in the grass using up these moves against wild Pokemon. Let's see how May actually goes. So May attempt number 1, we go Charm turn 1 as we get scratched. That gets her to doing 2 damage per hit as we start to struggle. We miss some struggles since we have the Hustle ability, and at this point we're on such low health that we simply lose. Let's try this one again. This time we even miss our Charm, so we don't even get that advantage, and unless we get really good luck here, we're simply struggling ourselves down. We do manage to get through on the 3rd attempt, so it's definitely a factor of whether or not Hustle comes into play and whether or not we get crit or whether we land any crits. But we do eventually get through May with the struggle strat, but if it takes multiple attempts there to struggle May down, that makes me think that this is going to be really, really terrible. Still, it would be hilarious if we got like metronome luck the first attempt with the baby. Since we are only a level away from getting that, we can maybe struggle down youngster Calvin and his Poochyena, and that may give us the chance that we need to get through this. We're gonna have to heal with potions for now though. So youngster Calvin attempt number 1 with our Togepi, and we missed the first struggle, and it's just howling at me. We did decent damage when we did finally hit, and then we get a crit to actually win. Oh, youngster Calvin never stood a chance. We missed a couple struggles there, but we still managed to get it to go. So I guess that's going to be fine. Let's just see how this goes now with the metronome on our little Togepi. Let's see if it just gets god tier luck where its evolved form didn't, because that would be kind of hilarious to have Togepi in the running and not Togetic. I think we'll need lots of Oran berries in this section, but who knows, maybe it works out. So I will give an Oran berry here against the Team Aqua Grunt even just to be safe, and let's see how this fight actually works out. So here, of course, he leads off with Poochyena. Our only moves are going to be to go Charm turn 1. Let's lower its attack as much as possible. And then let's go into the Metronome. We get Thunder Wave to paralyze it. Hey, that's nice. Now we hit Payday, as it is lowering my accuracy, so we're not going to hit as often. Sweet Kiss misses. We get a Reflect. Now we go Conversion 2, turning into a Steel type. We're super defensive here. And then we land the Sky Uppercut, allowing us to get the victory and get to level 7. So, hey, Togepi beats a Team Aqua Grunt on the first attempt. That's legit. And now it's on to Hiker Devin to see how he goes with this Pokemon. I'm mostly just grabbing healing items here. I'm not going to waste my time getting things like Cut, because I honestly don't think they're going to help us here. And it's not worth going out of the way unless we're actually going to progress in the game. Still, let's just slap that Oran Berry onto this Togepi and see if it has a chance here against Hiker Devin. Maybe we get the luck to get through 2 Geodudes. So here I will Charm turn 1 at the Geodude to lower its attack, and then we're into the Metronomes. We get Rolling Kick turn 1, we get a Flinch. Strength after that does basically nothing. Now Ingrained, so we've rooted ourselves. We can't be forced out. That's nice. We get a Smoke Screen to lower accuracy. We get Growth. Now we get a Blaze Kick. Spike Cannon. Sandstorm comes in and obviously doesn't affect the Geodude. We get a Mind Reader, and this is our last PP in Metronome. We get Psycho Boost to knock out the first Geodude. Well, that's nice. The problem is we get to level 8, but we don't have any Metronome PP left for the second Geodude. So all we can do here is spam Charm and hope that eventually we get through this. Now we are apparently absorbing nutrients with our roots, so maybe that lets us do something. We are like somewhat successfully stalling out here, but he is tackling us down slowly but surely. So unfortunately we lose. We're gonna need better luck than that, where we actually get some strong moves against these Geodudes. We get Iron Defense turn 1, then Amnesia. So yet again, this is the most defensive Togepi ever. We even go Hyper Beam here and have to recharge, but it did like no damage. Rock Smash comes in, and that is a decent move. We missed the Horn Drill, unfortunately. And once again, we cannot get any moves to actually get through Devin. This time we get Dragon Rage turn 1 though, so that does get a one-hit KO. If we could just get Dragon Rage 3 or 4 times in a row, we could totally beat Roxanne. And then we get Water Pulse the next turn. So Devin goes down. It took 4 attempts, but we did ultimately beat him with the Togepi. Now the question is, Roxanne. Do we get through Roxanne? We're super slow at this point, so clearly one Rock Tomb has everything outspeeding us. That could be an advantage for this Pokemon though, so we're just gonna have to see. Let's just see if an Oran Berry plus Metronome strats are enough here. So here against the first Geodude, I'm going to Charm to lower its attack as much as possible. It Defense Curls. When it does that, I think I just go for more Charms. We are in a speed tie currently, so this Pokemon isn't necessarily going to Rock Tomb against us. Once we get its attack all the way down, let's go into Metronome. We get Conversion 2, now Aromatherapy. Rock Throw doesn't do that much with its attack all the way down, and we get Petal Dance. Wait just a second. We hit Petal Dance, dealing really good damage to the first Geodude. Petal Dance continues on the second Geodude, getting a one-hit KO. That's going to bring us to the Nose Pass. We've just learned Sweet Kiss. So we go Metronome and get Hyper Fang, but I'm going to go Sweet Kiss right here. So we confuse the opponent. We're also going to go for all of the charms right here to lower its attack as much as possible. So now with Nose Pass's attack as low as possible, we're also going to keep the Sweet Kiss on if we can for the sake of the confusion status. And now it's back to Metronome. Here we hit Howl, so we raise our own attack stat. We get Eruption that does basically basically nothing. We get Icy Wind, which lowers the speed of the Nose Pass. That might actually have been a problem because now I think it's going to be faster than us. We land Sky Uppercut. It hits itself in confusion. We get Mega Drain to recover some HP off of this one. We get Rock Tombed to lower our speed as she goes for a potion. We get Nightshade, dealing a fixed 11 damage, but now we have no more damage dealing moves here. We have to use the Oran Berry in order to heal, and we have to start stalling out and just kind of hope that the Nose Pass hits itself a bunch of times in confusion and basically go back to Sweet Kiss anytime that it snaps out of confusion. Still, while we lose the first attempt, we can kind of see that there's a chance here. We're going to need really good luck against the first two Geodudes, but the fact that they don't go for Rock Tomb necessarily is actually a huge benefit here. We get kind of bad luck to get a Rock Throw turn 1 here. We really want to see Defense Curl. Here we'll swagger the opponent though. We have to heal with the Oran Berry on the first Pokemon, but we can go Psycho Boost after that. That did some damage, but of course we lowered our special attack stat. Now we get some Roots and Focus Energy, and I guess we just start spamming all of our PP here against the first Geodude, just hoping that it doesn't deal enough damage to us, but I don't think this is going to work out at this point. I think we need to actually get attacking moves that deal decent damage. Sure enough, we are getting whittled down in this, so I think eventually we'll lose before we can use up all of our PP. So we're going to have to reset and try this one again. This time we get Solar Beam, so we knock out that Geodude. We get to level 10 after that as we go to the second Geodude. We'll set up Charm. We did just have to burn our Oran Berry, but we can get its attack stat nice and low with our Charm, but now we get String Shot, so we're actually faster, which means we're probably getting Rock Tombed here. Here we use Rest in order to recover HP, but we're simply not getting any more useful moves here. And that's basically the end of this one, I think. So the difference here is that we are surviving a lot more hits, and we have the advantage of being slow, so we don't even get Rock Tombed turn 1. And after we set up all the charms, we're really not taking much damage, so we have a lot of time to get metronome moves that are good here. It's just a factor of whether or not we can get the right metronome moves, but it's really different from the Togetic because we can manage to at least get multiple metronomes off every single time, whereas Togetic was basically stuck getting KO'd right at the start of the fight. Still, we do really need to actually land the correct moves to get this one to go. This time we get Leech Seed on the first Geodude, and I think at this point we can actually stall out PP because we've set up all the charms and it's only doing about 3 damage per hit against us with a non-crit, and we heal that full amount back from the Leech Seed. So if we could get luck like this even, I think we could manage to eventually get through. The other advantage here is that she might end up using her potions on the first Geodude. We just have to avoid crits, otherwise we'll get wrecked here. Still, she doesn't go for the potion there, so we're gonna have to get to the second Geodude. It does Rock Tomb me since we are faster coming into this one, but we're back to the metronome. We get Hydro Cannon, so we get a one-hit KO right there. We get to level 11 and learn Sweet Kiss. Now it's time for Nose Pass. We get Focus Energy. I gotta make sure to lower this thing's attack stat though. Then we will use Sweet Kiss to make it confused. And we start Hail, which is kind of bad because we're going to be taking chip damage ourselves. Still, we get it to hit itself in confusion. We use Thunder Shock, which does nothing. Now Aerial Ace. We have 2 metronomes left. We don't get a good move there. Hail is doing massive damage and we get Rock Tombed down. Still, we've gotten a Nose Pass multiple times here, so I do think we have a shot. It's just going to be very, very luck-based to actually make this work. This time we get to Nose Pass, but we're using Ice Ball, and we get a hit that knocks the Pokemon out. Are you kidding me? It took 21 attempts there on Roxanne, but we actually managed to get through with Togepi using metronome strats. That is nuts. Togepi gets through after I eliminated Togetic. Keep in mind, I did like more than double this number of runs with Togetic last night. But the real difference here, the reason why Togepi is actually legit is because it has only neutral damage from the Geodudes and Nose Pass using rock type moves. And it's already slow enough that you're in a speed tie at the beginning. It's not going to go Rock Tomb turn 1 every single time. And you can manage to win some speed flips, get some defense curls, set up all the charms so that you're super survivable. And then it's just about metronome luck. And apparently Ice Ball is the move you need if you're going to get through Roxanne. Hey, we'll take it. So, hey, that is a baby Pokemon getting through where its evolved form didn't. I think we have to go back and look at Pichu at this point. I don't think Pichu's getting through, but we may as well look at it because this is just insanity. I didn't expect this to happen. So, yeah, I guess Pichu is on the menu again. Let's see how this goes. So with that, it's Pichu time, but the big difference here is that Pichu has really high speed and basically nothing else. So that makes me think that we're getting wrecked here, because even if we somehow had a decent move to use, we're going to be too fast, forcing the Geodudes to go Rock Tomb against us. I think we still get Charmed, so we can lower their attack stat pretty significantly and maybe do something, but I don't think we actually stand any chance here. I just have to do it to meme, because if we just got through with a Togepi, we've got to give every baby at least a shot in this one. So of course, we'll come out with Pichu against the Zigzagoon and get a very easy victory, but now we have to go take on May, where we don't have any damage dealing moves that can affect her, so we're gonna have to go struggle strats in this fight. So it's basically going to be Charm once into struggle. Let's see how Pichu does here. So May attempt number 1, let's go Charm, lowering the Mudkip's attack. We also get the paralysis with static, and with struggle, we're going to get through this fight just fine. It's just a simple 3-hit KO. We don't have the hustle ability causing us to miss fully accurate attacks, so that's kind of nice. Still, this is going to be luck-based no matter how we do it, so we're going to have to hope that we can manage to get the luck to eventually get through. So here against Hiker Devon, I'm going to go in with an Oranberry and 1 PP in Charm. And we're going to see if we can get through with the struggle strats with Pichu. Let's see how this goes. Against the first Geodude, we Charm turn 1, lowering its attack stat. And now it's into struggle, where we can see that we do like 3 damage here. He can go for all kinds of things. He gets a critical hit tackle that takes us down to 6 HP. But I'm pretty sure even his non-crit tackles are doing decent damage here. Sure enough, they are. We're taking about 3 damage per hit. That basically tells us all that we need to know, that we're not going to even be able to get through Geodudes with Pichu with the struggle strat. It just doesn't have enough HP. And this is even without Devon having any healing in this fight. So Pichu can simply be eliminated here. We know that it's gone. Still, I had to give it a chance since Togepi got through. We had to just find out if maybe this Pokemon could get something to go here. In the end, it's just not enough. Don't get me wrong though, I think Pichu does get some moves that could be useful here. There was an event move, Surf, because we all know Surfing Pikachu and Surfing Raichu are actually a thing. So of course there has to be a Surfing Pichu. Via Move Tutor, there is Counter, which could actually be useful here. You would be countering the physical damage of the opponent, and you might be able to deal significant damage back to them with that move. Mud Slap and Seismic Toss are also interesting moves to use as Move Tutor moves. Reversal and Bide are potential egg moves, and there is even Iron Tail as a potential move to get through. So I think there's enough potential that if somebody did want to save Pichu, it could probably find a way through here. We would really like if we had the Gen 2 Petal Dance Pichu, just because that would be the perfect move to get through this section. But for now, we're just gonna have to cut this one off. Pichu is eliminated, sorry, but it just can't stand up to Togepi. Togepi is just on a whole nother level from this Pichu, at least at this point in the game. So that will, of course, bring us to Xatu, one of the Pokemon introduced in Gen 2 that I always found to be one of the weirdest Pokemon ever. It just has such a weird level up learn set in Gen 2. I'm hoping it gets something better here in Gen 3 so that we actually have a chance of getting through this. Or maybe we get something like even Nightshade at a low enough level that it actually has an impact. I'm not super confident in this though. So in the end, I put Xatu into the Trico Ball, so we'll go up against the Mudkip line. Since I couldn't really find any weaknesses here or any advantages, I think this is the way to go. And we start the game with Peck and Leer. So at least we can get through the early game trainers with this moveset, but are we going to learn anything else before Roxanne? Our next move is Nightshade at level 10, but because we're in the medium fast level up group, we're not going to get there until we actually get to Roxanne and in fact get through a couple of her Geodudes, I think. So this one's probably done. And while Synchronize can pass on status problems, I just don't think that's going to do enough for us here. So I think we're going to have to likely lose in this one, but let's get to Hiker Devon and just see how it goes. Before that, we do have to take on May on Route 103. She leads off with her Mudkip. I'm going to give it a Leer and then start pecking. At least Peck is a same type move here, so we get a nice 2-hit KO there. And we can move on in the game. I just think it's going to be really sus from here. So it is Hiker Devon time. We can lead off with a Leer on his Geodude and just see what Peck does. After a Leer, we're doing 2 damage per hit. And then he's going to start going for the defense curls. So I think this is basically game over right here, since we're just not going to be able to deal enough damage to get through this Geodude without a god tier amount of luck when it comes to critical hits. Like, even with him going defense curl, eventually he's going to go into tackle and he's going to take us down. Unless we get all the tackle misses. Like, what is this double teaming Xatu here? We actually managed to get through the first Geodude getting to level 8. I don't think it's enough though. I still think we're getting wrecked. It goes for Mud Sport turn 1, defense curl after that, so we're basically doing no damage. So yet again, we would need to basically get a bunch of misses because we're on 1 HP, and it's simply not going to work out. The Oran Berry might make a slight difference here, but I think really if we're using the Oran Berry at that point, we just go for Struggle here to get as many levels as we can. The real question is just if we could somehow get to Nightshade with Struggle. I don't think it's likely, but I will test it out to see. So let's just see what Struggle does against Devon with this Xatu. Struggle's first hit did 4 damage, so this would be a 6-hit KO, assuming he doesn't go for the defense curls, and assuming that that range holds up. Now he does start defense curling. Nothing we can do about that. We do have the Oran Berry on to heal in the middle of this fight, so that is a small advantage for us, but we're really going to need to get some good luck here to knock this first Geodude out. We level up to level 8, but we've only got 11 HP as we go to the second Geodude. Still here, Struggle does 5 damage because we got that damage rounding level. We get a critical hit right here. He goes defense curl, and so hey, Xatu does manage to get through the second Geodude there. The problem here entirely is going to be the fact that Roxanne heals. If Roxanne never used potions on her Geodudes, if it was like a situation where she only used them on the nose pass, we might be able to get to level 10 and get access to Nightshade. I just don't think we get there here because I think we have to knock out both Geodudes in order to actually get it. I will give this a fair try, of course, but I'm not super confident that it's going to change anything. Still, here's Roxanne. Let's test her out. We'll give a Leer turn 1. We get Rock Tombed all the way down to 2 HP. So even the Oran Berry isn't going to save us here. We can just peck the next turn, but Rock Tomb takes us down. And that's really all we need to see. When we are getting 2-hit KO'd by the Geodudes using a rock type move like Rock Tomb, there's really nothing else to do here with this Pokemon. There's no way to flinch. There's no way to get status on the opponent. So there's just simply no way to get through short of like, 50 Rock Tomb misses in a row and getting a bunch of, Leers and something. Like, I'm sure somebody could make a task that eventually makes this work. I'm just saying that's not what we're here for. So I think that Xatu's out of there. And by definition, Natu's out of there too. This is different from Togepi because Natu is going to have the same moveset and Natu's going to have lower stats. So there's just simply no way for it to get through. And Natu is still the flying type. So it's still going to be weak here. It probably just gets 1-hit KO'd by the Rock Tomb. So it just seems like it would be completely impossible to get through this fight with either of these Pokemon, which is why they're eliminated. But with that done, I think we can now finally get to some Pokemon that might have a chance here. It's time for Ludicolo, and just to see if this Pokemon can find a way to get through this. If we start with any sort of water or grass type move, I think we're perfectly fine. I think we get to learn the move Bullet Seed, which could also help us here, though I'll have to double check if that is the case. With this Pokemon, we are a special attacker with high special defense, but still decent HP and decent everything else to go with it. So this is going to be one of our best shots to get through in this entire episode. Let's just see what the moveset is on this Pokemon starting out. Now, I put this Pokemon into the Mudkip Ball on the basis that its 2 stab typings are resisted by Trico. Water would be super effective against the Torchic, and Grass would be super effective against the Mudkip. That was my logic. Tell me if you think that's wrong in the comment section below. But for now, let's get Ludicolo and see the moveset. We come in with Astonish, Absorb, Growl, and Nature Power. So I think that we've got this in the bag. I'm just going to go Absorb here in this first fight. It's going to be a pretty easy way to get through against the first Zigzagoon, getting us a nice victory. And we've still got Astonish in order to get us through the first fight with May. Let me double check what Nature Power does here. So its type varies depending on the location. I'm going to have to see the mechanics of how that actually works. Obviously, Astonish can flinch opponents. It's not super strong, but it does get the job done. Yeah, I think we're going to be fine here. So May attempt number 1 with Ludicolo. I'm just going to go for Astonish right off the bat. We can get the flinches. This move on Zubat in Gen 3 was always super annoying in Pokemon Fire Red, Leaf Green, and Mount Moon. Just repeatedly getting flinched. And it's more than enough to astonish our rival as we completely wreck her. And with that, I really expect no issues until we get to the gym leader. So I think we're just going to run through this section and get to Roxanne. We'll see if Absorb is enough there, but Bullet Seed is an option if we don't get the range. It looks like we learn no other moves with this Pokemon, so there's nothing on the level up learn set, but still with Bullet Seed as an option, I think we get through eventually. Now, it's also worth noting that Ludicolo is in the medium-slow level up group, so it's coming into Roxanne at level 10. I'm going to go with my moveset as it is first. I'll just give the Oranberry to be safe. We'll change to the Bullet Seed if it seems necessary, but let's just see how this fight actually goes. We are pretty fast. It's going to take 2 Rock Tombs for us to be slower than the Nose Pass, I think. So we're going to have to see how we do actually getting to that Pokemon. So Roxanne attempt number 1, let's go for the Absorb on the first Geodude. That is not quite enough to one hit, but we will get another Absorb here as she just potions, getting us back all of our HP. We get to level 11 as the second Geodude comes out. We'll stick with Absorb. That one appears to be a one-hit KO, so that's perfectly fine. That brings us to the Nose Pass, and we are just slower than this Pokemon. So let's go for Absorb, and we see that this move did 10 damage. This would be a 4-hit KO, but if she doesn't start attacking us pretty quick here, sure, she can Oranberry all she wants, but the range I think is going to be more than enough to simply get us through. Tackle means nothing to us here. She can potion a second time even, but Nose Pass just isn't dealing enough damage, and that means that Ludicolo is going to get through just fine here, getting to level 13. Roxanne just didn't stand a chance against this Pokemon. We didn't need to go for the Bullet Seed as an upgrade. That makes me think that probably the Lotad line is gonna be okay, but we're just gonna have to see. For now, we have to check in on our other fully evolved grass type. Let's check in on Shiftry. Now, looking at the base stats there on the left side, it looks like Shiftry is more of an offensive Pokemon with some decent speed thrown in there. Its defenses are a little bit lower, which could be a problem, but we have to see what our starting moveset is with this Pokemon. I think in the worst case, we can probably again get Bullet Seed in order to take down Roxanne. We're just going to have to see if the rest of our moveset is enough to get there, or what kind of moves we're actually rocking from the start. Now, for this one, I am going up against the Torchic line, since I assumed that that will have some super effective damage against us later on with fighting and fire type moves. But let's just see how this goes with Shiftry here. We're coming in with Pound, Harden, Growth, and Nature Power. Now, Nature Power turns into Swift in this area, so that's perfectly fine. It's stronger than Pound, so it's clearly the way to go at this point in the game. Now, I think this moveset will be enough to get us through to getting Bullet Seed, but Bullet Seed is going to be the play for Devin and for Roxanne. We're just going to have to see how it actually works out, though. First up, though, we've got to get through rival number 1. She's going to lead off with that Torchic, and I think we'll just stick with the Nature Power here, getting an easy one-hit KO. Now, Growth together with Bullet Seed, I think will make that move completely OP when we actually get it to go up against the Rock and Ground type Pokemon. So we could be getting a super easy range here just because we could set up some growth on the very first Geodude for Roxanne, for example, and then just bullet seed the team down. That's going to be my basic game plan when I get there. I think the rest of these trainers aren't going to be too hard till we get to Devon though, so let's just get to Devon and see what the ranges look like at that point. So here just before Devon, I am going to learn the move Bullet Seed on my Shiftry. The question is, what move should we forget? For now, Nature Power is turning into Swift on most of these overworld routes, so it is a little bit stronger than Pound. We could also learn Cut if we really need to over Pound, but I think if we get through this section, we're going to get access to more good moves that will probably be good enough to justify going without Pound at this point. So let's just replace that with the Bullet Seed. Tell me if that's a mistake in the comment section down below, but for now I'm just going to get into this Hiker Devon fight. Let's see how he likes Bullet Seed from a Shiftry. I'm going to lead off with one growth just so that I power up if we do get a low roll here, and Bullet Seed just one shots there. We don't even need multiple hits with this move, and Devon goes down super easy, getting us to level 10. We're once again in that medium slow level up group, which is massive. It gets us to level 10 right here as we go into the Jasmine fight, and here I think we basically just go in with the Bullet Seed, set up some growth. I don't think we need to go crazy with the move, just like maybe one or two growths to get through this with some sort of reasonable consistency. I'm mostly going to be looking ahead to that Nose Pass that is going to have the higher special defense, which is why it would justify setting up more growth. But let's just see how this goes with Shiftry. So Roxanne attempt number 1 on the first Geodude, I'm just going to give a single growth here, and then let's go for the Bullet Seed. Here, 2 hits is enough to get through the first Geodude, so that's perfectly fine. We get to the second Geodude, we'll stick with the Bullet Seed right here, easily knocking that Pokemon out. We get to level 12 as we get to Roxanne and her Nose Pass. We are faster at this point. Let's see what Bullet Seed does. A 3-hitter took her down to 17 HP, so 2 back-to-back 3-hitters would be enough to actually get a victory here just with the 1 growth. This time we get a 5-hitter taking her down to a Sliver that forces a potion. Another 2-hitter allows her to set up another potion, but at this point she doesn't have any healing left, and we're going to get through on the first attempt with our Shiftry. No problems there with this Pokemon. We easily get through, and now it's time to step down to some mid-stage evolutions and just see how they go. We'll start off with Lombre and go from there. Now, Lombre seems to mostly specialize in special defense, but all of its stats are pretty middling across the board. We're just going to have to see if this is enough or not as we go through this one. So once again, I did put Lombre into the Mudkip Ball to put us up against Torchic for the same logic as Ludicolo. Again, tell me if you think that's a mistake, but for now, let's get access to this Pokemon. Let's see the starting moveset. It's just Astonish and Growl. Astonish doesn't affect Zigzagoon, so we can't use that move in order to knock this Pokemon out. We're just stuck sitting here growling at this one, so we're not going to get the XP from the very first Zigzagoon, at least. That's too bad. And this move is going to be resisted by the Poochyenas. We get Absorb at level 7, so that does give us at least a move to use. Nature Power comes in at level 13. Still, this is not actually going to be great here in the early game. We're going to have to see how this actually works out. At least Astonish is going to be neutrally effective against May, so this should be just fine. Let's see how it works on the first Trico battle. I'll go Growl once to lower the opponent's attack stat, and now go for Astonish. We seem to be slower than the Trico, which is a little bit nerve-wracking, and we actually managed to get knocked out on the first attempt. We managed to get it on the second one, though I guess not going for a Growl is the way to go against the rival. But now we're at level 6. We have to see if we get to level 7 on the youngster Calvin fight. If we do, then we're perfectly good to go. We'll have Absorb at that point, which will be better for the Poochyena and for Devon. But if we don't, we could be in some trouble here. Now, we can flinch the Poochyena. The problem is that we don't have a lot of PP in the move Astonish. I didn't heal coming into this one either, which was clearly a mistake, but it's pretty obvious that the youngster Calvin fight is going to be pretty hard with this one. So I think we lower Poochyena's attack as much as we can before going into Astonish, and we hope it gets stuck using Howl a bunch of turns. And we might also be hoping for some crits and some flinches here to get through. Ultimately, we do get it to go. We get get to level 7 right here. That gives us Absorb. That makes me feel a lot better against the upcoming Team Aqua Grunt. So I think we're going to get through this one at this point. Now I will pick up Bullet Seed just in case with this Pokemon, since a 3-hitter from Bullet Seed is stronger than Absorb, and even the 2-hitter will just be the same power. So it is by far and away the stronger move to use in this section of the game. Still, Absorb does heal back some HP, so I think it's useful to at least try that move before we go for the TM. Let's just see here as we go though. Of course, Hiker Devon can't stand up to our Lombre, so we get to level 10 right here. We're ready to go to the Roxanne fight, where I don't think we'll be one-hit KOing with Absorb against the Geodudes, but I still think we'll be dealing enough damage that this is probably going to be okay. I think one Rock Tomb will get us slower than the Nose Pass, though it's going to take 2 Rock Tombs to make us slower than the Geodudes. So let's just give the Oran Berry here, since we're going to take those hits very likely, and just see if we can manage the victory or not. So attempt number 1 here with Absorb. Sure enough, it's going to be a 2-hit KO on the first Geodude. We get Rock Tombed, but she potions, which is perfect. That just lets us get a bunch of HP back as we knock that one out. We're nearly back to full health as we go to the second Geodude at level 11. We can go Absorb. It's going to go Rock Tomb again because we're faster. Now we're in a speed tie, and we simply knock her out after she uses the potion and a defense curl. So with that, we get to the final Nose Pass. Here, I think the simplest strategy is actually to go for a few growls just to lower this Pokemon's attack stat, since we know we're not like one-hit KOing here with the Absorb. If we get its attack really low though, it's not going to be able to knock us out short of a bunch of crits with any of its attacking moves, and we're just going to be healing the damage. So this gives us the advantage. Like, it gets a crit right there. We heal back 3 damage per hit. Tackle only does 2 damage here though, so we're going to be net gaining HP anytime she doesn't critical hit us. She goes for the Oran Berry, but that's not really going to be an issue for this Pokemon unless she crits 2 more times in a row. She is getting a lot of crits here though. She has apparently used Focus Energy on the Nose Pass. Still, it's not going to turn out to be enough. We get to level 13, we learn Nature Power, and just like that, Lombre gets through the first gym. So with that, it's time to see if Nuzleaf can match this. And are we going to go for a clean 6 of 6 sweep at the end of this episode to get a little bit of get back on Roxanne? I'm very interested to see how easy or difficult this one turns out to be. Now, Nuzleaf, of course, is a Pokemon that I assume that if you do Nuzlocke in Gen 3, you have to use this Pokemon in every single run. Like, I think that a Nuzlocke in Gen 3 must clearly be illegitimate if you don't have a Nuzleaf on your team for basically the entire time. Just my opinion. Tell me in the comments if you think I'm wrong. But for now, we're going to get our Nuzleaf, which has its highest stats in HP and attack. The defenses are kind of sus. We're just going to have to see how this actually works out. So we will pick up our Nuzleaf in the Trico Ball here. Let's just see what the starting moveset is. We start with Pound and Harden. I think that's perfectly fine. This moveset should be more than enough to get us through to the Bullet Seed TM. And once we get access to Bullet Seed, I think we're good to go. We'll get Growth at level 7. And that's going to be clearly the strat to get through in this section of the game. Since with the Bullet Seed and Growth, I see no way, shape, or form that we actually lose against Roxanne, but we'll just have to see. For now, we have to get there, and we have to take on rival number 1 right here on Route 103 with her Torchic. I think I go Harden turn 1 to raise my defense, let it scratch. It has no way to lower defense, so that should give us a pretty big advantage. Even though it growls at me, Pound is going to be more than sufficient to get the victory on that first fight and get us to level 6. So we won't delay getting Bullet Seed with this one since it's the obvious play. Let's go ahead and get it as we come into the Hiker Devon fight and see how strong Bullet Seed is against the Geodudes on this Nuzleaf. Here, of course, Bullet Seed gets an easy 2-hit KO on the first Geodude, so no need to even set up Growth here. And it's going to be more of the same on the second Geodude. No need to heal, no need to mess around. We get to level 10. We're ready to go to the fight against Roxanne. Now, in the Roxanne fight, we could try a few different strategies. We could try setting up all the defense and Growth at the start of the fight in order to just get the best range possible. I'm going to try that here just because I'm kind of interested to see if we can survive enough hits hits. I believe we'll get 2 Rock Tombs at the start of this one, but I think that will be perfectly fine. We can simply give the Oranberry, and let's just see if we can get a range where maybe we just one-shot against the final Nosepass. So here against Roxanne attempt number 1, I'm going to set up Harden first. We get a Rock Tomb miss turn 1, and we get a defense curl from the opponent. But really, this is all just about reaching the point where the opponent can't really damage us with anything. So I get up to +6 on defense. We've got the Oranberry on, so anything short of a critical hit isn't going to do that much, but we're still taking 5 damage per hit from the Geodude, which is kind of nuts. Still, I'm just going hard on growth here. I want to see if we can reach a point where we're just going to get a one-hit KO against the final Nosepass. Here, of course, on +6, Bullet Seed destroys Geodude number 1. We're going to be slightly faster than Geodude number 2, so we can just Bullet Seed it down. That gets us to level 12 as we go to the Nosepass, but here we're slower. It's not going to go for Rock Tomb. It goes for Harden instead. We use Bullet Seed, and we get a 3-hitter that just knocks it out. So, turns out that, yeah, you can set up growth here and get a pretty easy victory with this Pokemon. Now we have to decide what to do with Nature Power. I'm going to throw it on Overpound. I'm just going to do that for now. We'll see if that's a mistake or not. But with that, Nuzleaf proves that it is more than good enough to get through this section of the game. Who needs level caps grinding up to the level of the boss that's in front of you? Nah, you can come in on minimum battles and completely crush with this Pokemon on the first gym. But with that done, it is now time to make our way to the first stage Pokemon. Let's check out Lotad first, and then let's check in on Seedot and see how they do. So Lotad is kind of your typical first stage Pokemon, lots of 30s and 40s in that stat spread over there. The special defense won't matter in this section, so we're going to have to see how this Pokemon goes. We're probably not surviving a lot of hits with this Pokemon, given our fairly low base stats. Still, if we can get access to Bullet Seed, I think we always have a chance here with this one, especially because we're in that medium slow level up group. We're going to gain a lot of levels here as we go through. So Lotad comes in with only Astonish and Growl. It looks basically the same as its evolved form here, which means this is another Pokemon that cannot knock out the Zigzagoon at the start of this. Instead, we have to end up just having it run away. Still, this moveset should be enough to get us through the first fight with May. The question is youngster Calvin, because of course, if we get to level 7, we will be able to level up and get access to Absorb, which will help us a lot here. So it's just going to be a matter of getting through these first 2 fights. So we get through May perfectly fine, even though we were slower there. The real question is youngster Calvin. We may need him to howl a bunch of times. We may need some crits here, but let's just see how this fight actually goes. So here we can see Astonish does only 1 damage against the Poochyena. We do have more HP and we have the chance to flinch, which helps quite a bit here. So if we can just manage a victory on this fight, we should have a pretty decent chance of actually getting through. It's obviously going to be kind of random here. We might need to growl at him a few times to lower his attack stat at the start, just to give us a better chance of getting through even after he starts howling. Sure enough, on the next attempt, we do manage to get through Calvin. It's just a matter of how many flinches you get, how many crits you get, how many howls he goes for. But once you get that, you can get through that fight. And now with Absorb on the moveset, we're just going to be significantly better. It's the same type move, even though it's only 20 base power, it recovers HP and should give us a pretty big advantage in this section. We might still have to go Bullet Seed against Roxanne just because our level is too low and we take too much damage there. We might be really hoping for some good Bullet Seed ranges against those Geodudes, maybe force her to potion, etc., and then get the KOs. We'll just have to see. I will definitely go into the fight with Absorb first, though, just to see if it's enough. Now, of course, Lotad is going to get through Hiker Devon, but we're not one-hit KOing against his Geodudes here, at least not the first one. It was a 2-hit KO, so that makes me think it's very likely that we're not getting as good a range here against Roxanne. Oranberry's definitely going to come in here, but we're going to have to see if we end up going Bullet Seed strats. Since that was the case with Trico, it wouldn't be surprising to me if we end up there as well with this one. But let's get into it and see how Roxanne actually goes. So she leads off with her first Geodude. I'm going for Absorb on this one. We do over half. She Rock Tombs after that. We're going to have to heal with the Oran Berry right there. Now she does Potion though. That gives us the chance to get some healing in, and we're already slower, so she's not going to go for Rock Tomb after that. We will level up here though, so we'll be faster than the second Geodude. We're back to Absorb. We get the critical hit one shot though, so that means we go to the final Nose Pass with a lot of HP. I'm going to go once again for the Growl strats here, just trying to lower the attack stat of Nose Pass enough that we can out heal it with the Absorb. If we can, then that is the clear strategy, since at that point, if we're just healing back all the damage that she does every single turn, she would have to get a ridiculous number of crits to actually get through us. And we can also get critical hits ourselves and deal even more damage to heal even more. So while this is incredibly tedious, it is absolutely a possible fight from the looks of things. Even when she's using potions here, I think we just eventually get through as long as we don't run out of PP. Here we get a nice critical hit, and that is going to be enough to take the Nose Pass down on the first attempt. We get Nature Power, and just like that, the Lotad line completely crushes Roxanne. I don't think it's a surprise that we crushed Roxanne. Really, for Nuzleaf and for Lotad, it's just that youngster Calvin fight that is a little bit hard because you've only got Astonish there. But once you get through that one, you're good to go for the rest of this section. Now we've got to check in on Seedot though. And I've heard from some people have been spoiling in the comments about Seedot's starting moveset, so I'm a little nervous how this one's gonna go, but we're gonna have to find out. Now, as we come in with Seedot, its best stat is defense. I think that will help us a little bit with our starting moveset here, but we're just going to have to see how this actually goes. Now, it's important to note that I read every comment and I try to reply to all of them. I'm just in the middle of also trying to make content and being the dad, so sometimes it takes a minute, but I do read them all. So if you tell me what the moveset of a Pokemon is in the comment section, then that's going to make me know that for the next episode, oh, this is what I'm dealing with. I will generally try to avoid comments that say something like spoilers at the top, just so that I can be surprised when I come in. But I also am fine with somebody just saying, I think maybe Seedot will be kind of tough. That's a perfectly fine amount of information. Just don't tell me the moveset. I mean, I could look it up myself, obviously, but I'm just not doing that because I want to be surprised at what we get here. So let's get this Seedot and see how he goes with his starting moveset of Bide and Harden. So that's what people told me. Obviously, we go Bide against the Zigzagoon. We're hoping it goes Tackle and lets us return a lot of damage. We can see Bide is actually pretty good here because we're going to be able to just get 2 Bides to knock that Pokemon out. Now, the main thing is that we're going to have to see how we do against the next couple of trainers. If we get to Bullet Seed, we're going to be perfectly fine after that with the Hardened Bullet Seed strats. I see no way that we're going to go down against Roxanne. We also have Growth coming in at level 7, so that's going to be perfectly fine. Once we get to Bullet Seed, it's just everything before that that we have to worry about. So here I think there's no strategy other than to go for Bide turn 1 against Torchic as it goes for Scratch against me. We can nearly KO it right there. We're going to have to get a good Bide range after that, but we do get the victory on the first attempt, getting to level 6, and now we're ready to move on in the game. So as a Bide user, funny enough, we are better at getting through the early game than some Pokemon that were not Bide users because they were using significantly weaker moves against Rival 1. Bide is fine as long as you can survive the hits and return enough damage with it. We're going to have to see how it does against youngster Calvin and the Team Aqua Grunt here with their Puccinos though. There could be an Oran Berry against the Team Aqua Grunt. That's my basic thought process right now. Calvin might be the hardest of these, but let's just see how he goes. So here I'm going to Bide against the Puccina. It tackles turn 1. We'll get a return a decent amount of energy there. And if he just tackles a couple times, we will get through youngster Calvin on the first attempt. We're on low health, but because this is a max IV Seedot, the strongest possible Seedot that you could have at this point in the game, it's not actually that bad to get through that fight. It's probably not consistent. You're probably going to sit there and reset a few times, but you do ultimately get it to go with the Bide strat without any issues. I think a 0 IV's Seedot would be significantly worse here. I think if you were manipulating natures, I think I'd go for lower attack and higher defense with this Pokemon, knowing that we would be going for special moves as our stab, since even after you evolve, Dark type is special in this generation. I think that would be my basic thought process for the early game for a Bide user, but who knows? The extra defense might manipulate ranges where you don't get KOs where you would expect to, so we always have to be careful just assuming that. That's why I'm going with Hardy Nature with everything in these, just so that the natures are not affecting anything about the fights. But now I'm going to go into the fight against the Team Aqua Grunt with an Oranberry on. Since we know we have to go Bide, let's just see how this actually works out. Now, we are still faster than the Poochyena, so we can set up Bide turn 1. It sand attacks against me. Now it tackles. We get to return the damage. It goes Howl after that. We can go back to Bide. It tackles again. Once again, we return good energy. So I think we just need one more tackle, and we're going to be able to get through this one. It tackles right there. We use the Oranberry, and we can simply knock it out, getting to level 8 against that Team Aqua Grunt. So really no issues up to this point, and we're ready to move on in the game. We will get access to that Bullet Seed, of course, right away, since that will be a very good strategy for us, actually giving us an attacking move that we can kind of control as we go through this one. Still, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if you could get through decent amounts of the game with Bide strats, as long as you just get the right luck. Like if Roxanne does decent damage with her Rock Tomb, like if you outspeed turn 1, use an Oranberry, you might be able to return the Rock Tomb damage in just one shot against one of the Geodudes. It's probably just not going to be very consistent though. By the time you get to the Nose Pass, you probably just don't have enough HP left in order to actually get through. If we were using potions, I guarantee that we could get this to go with just Bide though. In fact, that could be something to test out one of these days, is some potions in battle with Bide strats. For now though, we will come and take on Hiker Devon, where the only strategy is to go Bullet Seed. We're going to get a nice easy victory against these Geodudes and get to level 10 as we get ready to go to Roxanne's gym. I feel pretty good about this section of the game, so let's just see how Seedot actually goes. I do think that the Oranberry is required for this one just to be safe. I think I'm going to set up a bunch of defense and growth at the start too, just so I get the best range as possible, since one Rock Tomb will be enough to simply take me below the speed of all the opponents. So attempt number 1 here against Roxanne. I'm going to lead off with Harden, and I'm just going to go +6 on defense right off the bat. Of course, if she goes all in on attack against me, I think I could lose. But with all the defense set up, now I will set up all of the growth as well, because I just want to make sure that I'm basically one-hit KOing everything. Here she goes crazy on attack though, and that results in me losing the fight. Still, this time when I'm below half health, I think I just go for the KO on the first Geodude. We'll go for the KO on the second Geodude as well. And now let's just see what kind of range we get against Nose Pass with our really high defense. She goes Harden turn 1. We see a 3-hit Bullet Seed, did about half to this Pokemon. She goes Block after that, which is perfectly fine. Now she can Potion, but if we get a really high roll, we're simply going to win, and that's all we needed. So yeah, turns out that we managed to get through just fine. We could learn Nature Power here. Do I want to forget Bide to learn Nature Power? That is the question. I think Harden has too much value. I think Growth has too much value, but Nature Power is giving us a lot more control over what we do, and we don't have to wait so many turns. And I think with this unevolved Pokemon as we go through, we're not going to be able to survive enough hits to actually use Bide effectively in a lot of spots. So I think Nature Power is the play here. We'll just have to see if we run into a Pokemon that completely walls this moveset. But for now, Seedot is through. We're ready to move on in the game. Now, before we end this one, I do want to make a quick note about abilities here. Obviously, there are a lot of Pokemon that have multiple abilities. We've got Early Bird or Chlorophyll for this Pokemon. I'm honestly not sure which is better as we go through this. if we reach a particular point where one of the abilities is clearly better on a Pokemon than the other, we have the ability to change our abilities with the game hook software that I use to power this entire setup. So just keep that in mind, that we're not necessarily locked into just chlorophyll for this Pokemon. And in fact, if there's a member pick or patron pick in the future, they will have the permission for me to choose whatever ability they want on their chosen Pokemon, as well as to manipulate its natures, etc., in order to make the Pokemon what they want it to be. I'm going to reserve that mostly for the channel member picks, though I will look into the different abilities if there's a clear spot where it would make a difference for the Pokemon. In general, though, I just have a massive JSON file that has all the data for each Pokemon, and in the abilities, I just take whichever one comes up first, and it's just what I've downloaded from Poke API. But definitely give me some comments down below if you think an ability would have affected a fight by simply changing from the first one in the list to the second one in the list. I'll always be willing to look at stuff like that. Pokemon that failed do have a chance to get some redos. I do the redos in the final episode of the series, so I'll be collecting a list from you guys based on your comments of any Pokemon that you think should get another shot. You might be yelling down in the comments to give Togetic another shot in this one. Just note that if there's a strategy mistake or something else that I should have done that might have allowed a Pokemon to get through, I'm always willing to listen to those comments from you guys and get better and better at playing Gen 3. So just drop them down below. And with that, we've finished another episode. Let's see our results so far. So as we come back to our results screen, we're going to see we got a massive number of Pokemon through in this episode, growing up to 29 Pokemon now successfully passing through the Roxanne battle. Of all the Pokemon that got through today, I have to say that Togepi was the biggest surprise to me. I did not see that happening. I was recording till like 2 in the morning last night and was just completely exhausted after I finished the Togetic section, and I'm kind of glad that I got a night to sleep on it to think about that Togepi, because that is nuts to see an unevolved form get through. Sure, it wasn't great, but it was significantly better than what we were looking at with the evolved form, because you're not just resetting for a great move turn 1 every single time. It makes it a lot more consistent to get to Nose Pass, and then when you get to Nose Pass, you have decent odds there. So really, Togepi is kind of the MVP for this episode. We're gonna have to see if some normal type babies can keep this going. Next time, we're coming in with 21 challengers. We are going to have the Clefairy line, which means we're going to get Cleffa. I noted before in the episode, if Cleffa fails, it will be given extra moves to try to get through. It will essentially turn into a member pick at that point. That's because Cleffa is the Pokemon that I run in honor of my baby boy, since it was his first ever Pokemon. That of course means that we're also going to get the Jigglypuff line in this one to compare up to, so Igglybuff will be getting on the action, I think, with no starting attacking moves, which will be nuts. We get the Vulpix line next time. We're going to get all of the bats, the Zubat, Golbat, and Crobat. We'll do the Mareep line from Gen 2. Then we're going to get the Swellow line. We're going to get the Wingull line, and we're going to get the Ralts line. And based on what Wally gets when he catches Ralts, I'm guessing that we're going to start with only Growl on that Pokemon. So some struggle strats are going to be coming in pretty early. We'll have to see if it gets any good moves before we get to the Roxanne fight. Maybe its evolved forms can get through, I'm not sure, but place your own predictions down below about next time, and we'll just have to see how it goes. I will tell you this, one of these Pokemon I think is going to fail next time, but it has already been picked up by one of the patrons in the event that it does fail, so there are going to be at least 2 Pokemon next time that even if they fail are going to get a little extra to try to get through this section of the game. So with that does it for this one. I want to give a massive thank you to everybody who's joined the Patreon so far. In fact, in the middle of the night, we got a new patron who actually joined in a really high tier, the Steven Stone Champion tier. Lavender Regards. And on that tier, they not only get to save a Pokemon in the challenge, but they get to give me a challenge that they want to see. So if you're here, Lavender Regards, drop a comment. Let me know what kind of challenge you would like to see in Gen 3, and we will get it done. As long as it's something that's not impossible or will take like 50 years to do, I am here for it. And of course, if you'd like to get in on the action by joining the Patreon membership, just look at those fail Pokemon up there, choose one that you like, or even choose one that hasn't failed yet but you think might fail in the future, and just drop it for a comment for me either on the Patreon video or in the comment section here is perfectly fine. Just let me know what you pick when you sign up, and we will have it in this action, hopefully joining that Linoone in the completed member picks. With that, that's another episode in the books. Appreciate you for hanging out till the end. I'll see you in the next one. Later.